Chapter 765. Don't do anything rash. Zhuang Yichen closed his eyes and tried to calm himself down. However, his voice was still very loud and it scared Li Yong, who was standing at the side. Second brother, don't get agitated. Even big brother speaks so softly. You're being disrespectful to big brother. How can you not differentiate between the young and the old? Zhuang Yifeng spoke like a venomous snake. He straightened his body and bent his head slightly backward. He stuck out his tongue as if he was going to pounce on Zhuang Yichen at any moment. However, he kept sticking out his tongue and didn't pounce on Zhuang Yichen. What do you want? Zhuang Yichen was confused and asked for the reason first. My subordinates are researching a lightning rod. I think it's very interesting. What do you think will happen if this lightning rod is tied to a person's head and lightning strikes? Zhuang Yichen raised his hand and pressed it against his forehead. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't listen to Zhuang Yifeng anymore. What do you want? Zhuang Yichen knew he had lost when he raised this condition. I want you to come here alone. I'm at the Shirley Pavilion. You know, this is the wilderness. I like to deal with ghosts. If you bring too many people here and scare away my ghosts, I'll get angry. The Shirley Pavilion was a place where many people from Haicheng liked to hide from the cold in summer. There were relatively fewer people in winter. It wasn't a scenic spot. It was just a long pavilion that was built for the convenience of the city. On a winter night like this, there were even fewer people. However, there was a chair in the seemingly dark pavilion. A person was sitting on the chair with his legs crossed. When the lightning struck, his expression was unusually gloomy and scary. There were more than 10 strong men standing beside him. They looked fierce. Get some light so that second brother won't be able to find this place. Zhuang Yifeng smiled. A few seconds later, a few searchlights lit up in the pavilion. This way, they wouldn't have to wait for the lightning to strike. They could see 10 meters away. There were 2 shelves outside the pavilion. They were 10 meters apart. Zhuang Yifeng and the 2 shelves formed an equilateral triangle. The 2 shelves outside the pavilion weren't empty. There were 2 people hanging in the air. They were 2 women. One of them was Xiaoya. The other was Zhuang Yifeng's wife. Exian Man Zhuang Yifeng sighed and looked at Exian Man coldly. This woman stole his secrets and gave them to Zhuang Yichen. She even dared to ruin her relationship with Zhuang Yichen. Not long ago, his men had taken photos of her and Zhuang Yichen behaving intimately. Zhuang Yifeng, Zhuang Yifeng, Zhuang Yifeng's, Zhuang Yifeng, Zhuang Yifeng's. But damn it, he had indulged this woman more and more, which led to the current situation. Exian Man had revealed the real estate company's secrets to Zhuang Yichen that the 3rd episode of The Shoreline was in trouble. Xiaoya no longer had the strength to shout. She only felt that her entire body was about to freeze. It was too cold. It wasn't even March yet and it was very cold. However, it was still raining. Furthermore, it was night time. The cold air followed the rainwater and stuck to her body, entering her skin. Now, she felt that the cold air had already entered her lungs. Xiaoya was very tired and cold, but she didn't even have the energy to shiver. There was nothing left. In the rainy night, 2 strong beams of light pierced through the layers of rain and shot towards the pavilion. The man beside Zhuang Yifeng shouted, "Take your weapons." The sound of bullets being loaded could be heard. Zhuang Yifeng waved his hand and said lightly, "Don't be like this. You're scaring my second brother. If another person comes out of his car, shoot him in the leg." Yes. 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 Zhuang Yifeng stood up and saw that Zhuang Yichen was still looking at the Bugatti in the city. He mocked, "Look at this second brother of mine. He doesn't even know how to drive an off-road vehicle with a higher chassis in the wilderness. If we bring him up a slope, he'll be useless here." The car stopped outside the pavilion. Zhuang Yichen opened the door and got out of the car. He opened the seat and propped it on top of his head. The black umbrella was darker than the night sky. The huge black umbrella seemed to be propping up a pavilion above his head. Raindrops fell from the corners of the roof outside the pavilion. Zhuang Yifeng waved his hand. Go over and search him. The gun was pointed at Zhuang Yichen's back. Zhuang Yichen held the umbrella and raised his hand, allowing these people to search him. Zhuang Yichen's men asked Zhuang Yichen to open the car door and the trunk. After making sure that he didn't bring anyone with him, they nodded at Zhuang Yifeng. Zhuang Yifeng invited Zhuang Yichen into the pavilion. He patted his shoulder and said pretentiously, "Second brother, how many years has it been since we've had a good chat? This isn't good. Although we have different mothers, we have the same father, right? Blood is thicker than water. How can we not interact with each other? Big brother, you're right. As your younger brother, I'm right. I don't know any better." Zhuang Yichen entered the pavilion and stood where Zhuang Yifeng was sitting just now. There were more searchlights and they shone on the rack outside. Zhuang Yichen looked in the direction of the searchlights. He took 2 steps forward and stood in the corridor of the pavilion. He was shocked. Little man? If it was the police, then it was fine. He suddenly turned his head. His slender eyes were filled with disbelief and anger. Why is little man here? Haha. Zhuang Yichen laughed. What do you think of this gift? Are you surprised? Zhuang Yichen exhaled heavily. He gritted his teeth and said, Zhuang Yifeng, you're too much. Little man is your wife. How dare you tie her up there? My younger brother, you shouldn't talk like that. It seems like your wife is there too. This is between me and Xiaoya. Let little man go. Zhuang Yichen said sternly. Zhuang Yifeng raised his eyebrows and shrugged. You called me big brother just now. You don't even need to use honorifics now. He sighed. Sigh, it's still not thundering today. I'm so anxious. Just now, there was continuous thunder, but when you came, there was no thunder. I originally wanted to wait for you to come and put on the lightning rods for them so that you can watch a good show. Look, my second brother, what kind of luck do you have? You can't even watch a good show. Zhuang Yichen's gaze fell on Xian Man. Xian Man was hung on the rack. Her hands were tied up like Xiaoya's. In fact, not to mention the cold, her arms couldn't stand being hung like that for a long time. Hence, Xian Man and Xiaoya both fainted. However, Zhuang Yichen's voice was too loud. There hadn't been thunder for a long time, so his voice sounded abrupt. However, Xian Man was very familiar with Zhuang Yichen's voice. She slowly opened her eyes. When she saw Zhuang Yichen's figure, she still couldn't believe it. She tried to call out, Yichen. Then, she shouted loudly, Yichen. Zhuang Yichen clenched his fists. Big brother, let little man go first. How can I? I've never been soft-hearted to people who betray me. Zhuang Yichen looked at his wife who was desperately calling for Zhuang Yichen's life in the rain. He gritted his teeth angrily. I was the one who instigated little man to get the information. None of this has anything to do with her. Let her go and come at me. Although Zhuang Yichen didn't have an advantage in front of more than 10 people, he was born with a stronger appearance than Zhuang Yifeng. At this time, his words were sonorous and forceful, which imperceptibly made his domineering aura leak out. Zhuang Yifeng was stunned for a moment. Then, he suddenly laughed. Huh, you? What right do you have to ask me to come at you? You're now a doll in my hands. I can do whatever I want. What right do you have to negotiate with me? Zhuang Yichen, you actually dared to plot against me behind my back. Originally, we didn't need to put our guns on the table. Everyone was doing their own business. However, your appetite is too big. A few years ago, you killed my mother. Last year, you sent my father to prison. Now, you actually want to send me to prison. Why don't you just kill my father? You want to torture him, right? You want to use the same trick to deal with me? Zhuang Yichen, I'm telling you, I'm going to kill you today. Zhuang Yichen looked around Zhuang Yichen. His eyes turned cold as he said coldly, now, if you want me to die, it's all up to you. But first, you have to let little man go. Xiaoya felt that the rain falling on her body was getting smaller and smaller. Gradually, it lost its strength. Therefore, in her muddled state, she could clearly hear Zhuang Yichen's voice. It was like a dose of refreshing medicine. Her arms were dangling until she felt like they weren't hers anymore. She wanted to use more strength to pull them up, but she didn't have the strength. Her joints felt like they were about to be torn apart. When she was awake, all kinds of discomfort became more obvious. The sound of the rain was getting smaller and smaller. Although the visibility was still not high, Xiaoya opened her eyes and saw her husband standing in the pavilion. She was originally happy, but when she saw the other people in the pavilion, her joy was shattered. What replaced it was uneasiness and fear. She shouted at him, "Zhuang Yichen! What are you doing here? Go away, they have guns." Hearing this, Zhuang Yichen was in high spirits. Husband and wife, how touching. Zhuang Yichen didn't seem to hear Zhuang Yichen's mockery. He tilted his head and looked at Xiaoya. His eyes were deep and his thick eyebrows were tightly knitted. At night, Xiaoya couldn't see the light in his eyes. She only knew that he looked very anxious. Even his tone was anxious. "Little demon, don't worry. I'm here." Xiaoya was so touched that her eyes were burning, but she was still very worried. "Zhuang Yichen, are you stupid? He tricked you here. He's desperate." Zhuang Yichen laughed. "Sister-in-law is so smart." As he spoke, he reached out to pat Zhuang Yichen's shoulder. Zhuang Yichen's back muscles were as tense as iron. "Xiaoya and I will stay here. You let Xiao Man go." This has nothing to do with Xiao Man, but his words were heard clearly by Xiaoya as the rain gradually stopped. She subconsciously turned her head and clearly saw that Enchanting Man was also like her, with her hands tied up and hung up. Enchanting Man was also being used to threaten Zhuang Yichen. Xiaoya suddenly felt an extremely uncomfortable feeling in her heart. She finally understood why so many people were crazy about love. It was because nothing could be mixed with it. She didn't know how long she had been in love with Zhuang Yichen. She only knew that she had slowly gotten used to rejecting other men for her employer. Beauty novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 766. She could have broken up with him and found a man who was willing to marry her, but she didn't. She wrote down Zhuang Yichen's name on the paper from the age of 21 to 25. There wasn't a single gap and she couldn't write another story. She already had a career and didn't need to rely on him anymore, but she still didn't break up with him. Instead, she waited until Kang Ian reappeared. She started to understand how to compare and scheme. She used to beg for death because of love. She felt that it was impossible for her to love again in this lifetime. She found a man and asked for material things from him. She didn't need love, not even care. But she still did what she did in the past. She plunged into Zhuang Yichen's paper. But now, she understood how to compare. Compared to her and Enchanting Man, who was more important in his heart. She wasn't afraid that he wouldn't come. Instead, she was afraid that he would be in more danger if he came. But now, he was here. But he chose to let Zhuang Yichen release Enchanting Man. Xiaoya felt her entire body go numb. She was so cold that she was numb. Her hands were tied by the rope and her blood flow wasn't smooth. Her entire body was numb. Only the pain in her heart was the clearest. She had always disdained Enchanting Man's existence. She felt that she was cleaner than Enchanting Man. Although her first love didn't belong to Zhuang Yichen, she gave her first time to Zhuang Yichen. And her body only belonged to Zhuang Yichen. When Zhuang Yichen used force on her body, she felt that this man liked her. What was Enchanting Man? She was just a fleeting cloud. But if the man you love, at the moment of life and death, regardless of whether he can survive or not, chooses to give up on you and reach out to another person he once loved, how would you feel? Xiaoya couldn't speak. She would rather stay unconscious. But her heart hurt more and more. The pain made her nerves more sensitive and clearer. Okay, I can let Xan Man go. But give me Xing Chen International. I've prepared the contract. Sign it. Xiaoya heard Zhuang Yichen say without thinking, okay. Give it to me, I'll sign it. Xiaoya bit her lips. She couldn't cry out loud. Even if he thought for a moment, she wouldn't be so sad. Because of that Xian man, he had come to this point. She was just someone else's wife, it had nothing to do with him. Zhuang Yifeng shook his head and could not help but feel extremely regretful. I forgot to ask you to bring the company's official seal. It seems that today's losses are too great. He took a gun from his subordinate and loaded it. He raised his hand and looked at the two shelves, then handed a knife to Zhuang Yichen. The big man next to him immediately aimed his gun at Zhuang Yichen's head. Zhuang Yichen said lightly, the ropes on their hands are not very tight. You can use this knife to cut the ropes on their hands. 10 seconds. Zhuang Yifeng paused and smiled sinisterly. If I can't save them, the bullets in my hand will run even faster. I hope that you can take both of them down in 10 seconds. That way, I won't owe you a life. Xiaoya thought that she was not afraid of death. After all, she had already died once. She had earned every day since she came back from the grasslands. However, Zhuang Yichen was the man she loved. Her lips trembled. Yichen. I still want to give birth to a son for you. She remembered that he had said that she would give birth until she had a son because he had a lot of family businesses. Just as Xiaoya finished speaking, Xian Man's voice, which was 10 meters away, was much louder than hers. She screamed when she saw the hope of survival. Yichen, you can't leave me alone. You said that you would take care of me for the rest of my life. Xiaoya's heart sank. For the rest of her life. Zhuang Yichen had never promised to take care of her for the rest of her life. He didn't say anything when they got married. From the beginning to the end, he only said that he would marry her. Giving her a wedding, giving her a company, giving her shares for the rest of her life. These words were really nice to hear. Begin. Just as Zhuang Yifeng shouted. The corners of Xiaoya's lips slowly curled up. She watched as the man she loved held a gleaming knife in his hand. He lifted his long legs and jumped onto the pavilion's veranda. He took a big step forward and leaped several meters. His movements were as agile as a cheetah that was hunting in the wind. He rushed out as fast as lightning, but ran in another direction without any hesitation. She saw him jump up and cut the rope that bound Xian Man. His movements were clean and beautiful. She smiled. He was so skillful, just like a professional killer. Seeing Xian Man fall to the ground, she closed her eyes in despair. It turned out that it didn't matter whether they got married or not. What mattered was whether that person had you in his heart. Xiaoya knew that she was starting to be greedy again. She was a woman who didn't know how to be content. She had money and wanted someone. She wanted a marriage. She wanted a marriage and wanted only her in his heart. The last time in the swamp, she thought that she was going to die. Her wish was to tell him that she loved him. Now that she knew that she was going to die, her wish was to ask him if he had ever loved her. You're so fast. Haha. But there are still 5 seconds left. Zhuang Yifeng's wild voice sounded. Xiaoya didn't want to open her eyes, but just as she was counting in her heart, a police siren suddenly sounded. It was a very close distance. The police siren had attracted the attention of the people in the pavilion. Something like a grenade was thrown towards the pavilion. Everyone was shocked. There's a police officer. Retreat to a safe distance. But it was just a smokescreen. The silver Bugatti's accelerator was pushed to the limit. It wasn't far from the pavilion and now it was rushing towards Xiaoya's pavilion. Gunshots were heard. The pavilion suddenly fell, and Xiaoya fell to the ground with it. Her body was covered in mud. The car's steering wheel and accelerator were in perfect sync, blocking the direction of the gun in the pavilion. Zhuang Yifeng cursed. How the F***ck did you guys search? The police siren sounded happily. Zhuang Yifeng's men wanted to fight because their car was parked in the direction of the police siren. They couldn't run away. While they hesitated, another smoke grenade was thrown, completely blocking the view of the people outside the pavilion. But the police siren was still there. Zhuang Yifeng realized that he had been fooled. They didn't shoot. Chase. We must kill Zhuang Yichen here. When they chased out, the Bugatti was nowhere to be seen. After searching around, they realized that the police siren was just a waterproof loudspeaker in the grass. It should have been thrown by Zhuang Yichen's men. Damn it. Didn't we check just now? Why is there someone in his car? How dare you trick me? Zhuang Yifeng was so angry that he roared. He reached out and slapped the man beside him. His men naturally didn't dare to say anything and lowered their heads. We did check just now. There was nothing in the car. There were a few small boxes in the trunk. We opened them all. There were no weapons or people. We even opened a pair of shoe boxes. Zhuang Yichen spat fiercely. You can't possibly hide her under the chassis of the car, right? As soon as he said that, he was shocked. Damn it. He must have hidden someone under the car. I was wondering why he didn't drive an off-road vehicle with a high chassis. Was he afraid that I would find out? The Bugatti is spacious. You guys put all your energy into the car. The person driving Zhuang Yichen's car was very small, but his facial features were like an adult's. His head was just above the steering wheel. He stepped on the accelerator and stretched his body. He looked like he was using a lot of strength to pull his body. He looked forward, but his movements were practiced and his expression was relaxed. It was a skinny dwarf. The dwarf acted as if nothing had happened and said arrogantly, "Boss, remember me if you have a job like this next time." The car was spacious. Zhuang Yichen placed Xian Man, who was shot in the arm and back, on the back seat. His eyes were cold as he said coldly to the dwarf driving, "There won't be a next time." Xiaoya sat in the corner of the car door. She looked at Zhuang Yichen, who was also covered in mud like her, turning over the tourniquet in the car. Her face was full of tears. Zhuang Yichen looked up and saw Little Ye's appearance. A light flashed across his eyes. He looked at the dwarf in the front row, then turned back and reached out to touch Little Ye's face. Her face was covered in tears, and her body was still wet. He propped himself up and leaned over, kissing her face. "Little demon, sleep for a while. We'll be there soon." Xiaoya said faintly, "It's too cold. I can't sleep." Zhuang Yichen did not have Xiaoya's clothes in the car. They were all soaked and could only urge the dwarf to drive faster. Zhuang Yichen invited a doctor to the villa in the suburbs. Xian Man's job of removing the bullet was also carried out in the villa. Xiaoya could not get close to Zhuang Yichen at all. He took a shower and changed his clothes. He was downstairs with a serious expression. The doctor examined Xiaoya. Xiaoya shook her head. "I'm not injured. I just need a hot bath." The maid quickly went to prepare hot water for Xiaoya. She looked worried. Xiaoya did not look for Zhuang Yichen. She went back to her room and lay in the bathtub, motionless. Zhuang Yichen returned to the study. Li Yong followed him in. Zhuang Yichen was holding an electronic sensor in his hand. Li Yong took it and scanned every corner of the study. Then, he said, "I'm the only one who can enter the study. There shouldn't be any bugs installed." "Okay." Zhuang Yichen collapsed on the sofa. He had been nervous the whole night. Now that he relaxed, his hands on the sofa began to tremble. Li Yong's heart ached. He quickly poured a cup of hot tea for him and handed it to him. The lid on the teacup was still closed and it made a clattering sound. "Young master, you usually don't get into such a fight with Zhuang Yichen. Why is it that this time, a cornered dog will do something desperate?" Zhuang Yichen lifted the lid of the teacup. He felt as if his mouth, throat, stomach, and all his senses had turned cold. Thus, when he took a sip of the freshly brewed tea, he did not feel that it was too hot at all. He placed the teacup on the coffee table in front of him. His gaze only fell on the teacup. Uncle Li, get more people to guard the villa for the next few days. Li Yong nodded. Young master, will Miss Xian be sitting here? Or will we have another place to stay? Zhuang Yichen's eyes darkened. Arrange for it to be here. Especially her. Get more people to watch over her. Awesome novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 767. Li Yong asked again, what about young madam? Zhuang Yichen rubbed his chin and thought for a long time. Tomorrow morning, Jiang Zhao called. How's it going? I got her back, but Xian man is also there. She was shot. Brother Zhao, you can't get involved in this matter anymore. Otherwise, you'll be implicated. It's not appropriate to call the police. I asked the dwarf Golden Thimble for help. If we call the police, we'll be exposed. What about Zhuang Yifeng? Ever since the incident in the 3rd episode, Zhuang Yifeng has been appearing and disappearing unpredictably. He's probably desperate now. We can't fight with him openly. Go to bed early. I won't contact you for the time being. Jiang Zhao was silent for a while. Okay, be careful. After Zhuang Yichen hung up the phone, he stood up and looked at the closed door. He put his hand on his head and rubbed it. He gritted his teeth and cursed under his breath. Damn it. Xian man was originally on the 1st floor. Zhuang Yichen walked around the room a few times and went downstairs. He said to the servant, after Xian man's surgery is done, ask the doctor if she can be moved upstairs. The room upstairs is more comfortable. It's also much warmer. Only after the servants agreed with him did he turn around and go upstairs. Young master. Li Yong called out carefully and followed him. Will young madam think too much? Zhuang Yichen walked quickly into the study. Li Yong closed the door behind him. Zhuang Yichen opened the laptop on the desk. Uncle Li, after Xian man is sent up, send her to my bedroom. Tonight, you'll have to work hard. No one is allowed to go upstairs. If I need to call the doctor, I'll have to trouble you. I don't trust anyone downstairs. It's not impossible to send her to your bedroom, but young madam. Uncle Li, there's a mole in this house. Zhuang Yichen sat in front of the desk. Li Yong wasn't calm either. Young master, what should we do next? Zhuang Yichen shook his head. He went online, opened his email, and started to write an email. Halfway through, he raised his head. Only in front of Li Yong could he show his fatigue. Uncle Li, go down and keep an eye on the surgery. Come up every 10 minutes. Do this whether I'm still in the study room or not. Thank you for your hard work. Li Yong didn't ask for the reason. He did as Zhuang Yichen said. I'll go down now. All right. Zhuang Yichen typed the email, sent it out, and turned off his computer. He stood up, a stone weighing down on his heart. He stood in the same spot and thought for a long time. He walked around the room a few times. He wanted to kick everything in the room. After calming himself down, he walked out of the study and went through the corridor. When he returned to the bedroom, he panicked when he saw that Xiaoya was not on the bed. The bathroom door wasn't closed. He rushed over. Xiaoya felt warm all over. It was so warm that she wanted to sleep. It was like being in Zhuang Yichen's arms. He hugged her tightly and she used his body as an oven to warm herself up. However, he tightened his grip on her until she couldn't breathe. She wanted to escape, but he grabbed her neck. She saw his fierce gaze and his eyes were bloodshot. He looked like a hungry beast. She started to kick him with all her might. She couldn't kick him. Everything was in vain. She wanted to cry. She wanted to ask him why he was treating her like this. Did he love her? Did he not have any feelings at all? Otherwise, how could he be so ruthless? She started to give up struggling. Zhuang Yichen's heart tightened when he saw Xiaoya submerged in the bathtub. He bent down and scooped her out of the water. Xiaoya's entire body was drenched, and Zhuang Yichen was drenched. He placed her on the bed and began to press his hand on her chest to relieve the water. When Xiaoya woke up, she found that she had vomited water on the bed. Zhuang Yichen heaved a sigh of relief and sat on the bed. He reprimanded her, "Can you bathe with your eyes open? What's the difference between dying a little later and dying a little earlier?" Xiaoya sat on the bed. She was still naked. She wrapped a towel around her body. The room was air-conditioned. She walked barefoot on the wooden floor and walked into the bathroom. Zhuang Yichen heard the sound of the hairdryer coming from the bathroom. He knew that he didn't sound good, but he was really frightened just now. Xiaoya returned to the room. Her hair was already dry. She changed into her nightgown and changed the wet sheets. Zhuang Yichen looked around the room cautiously. He didn't feel safe anywhere. He thought carefully. What should he do? He might not be able to find Zhuang Yifeng if he took the initiative. He had to let him find him. Zhuang Yichen took the electronic sensor from the study and scanned the entire room. Xiaoya shouted, "Zhuang!" Zhuang Yichen turned around and put his index finger to his lips. He didn't make a sound and only gestured for her to keep quiet. Xiaoya was stunned and swallowed her words. Usually, his bedroom was cleaned by Li Yong and the maids. He thought that no one would dare to do anything in front of Li Yong. As expected, nothing suspicious appeared in the room. But now, he felt that he was under Zhuang Yifeng's surveillance. This feeling was too strong. He and Zhuang Yifeng could be said to be fighting to the death in business. Xiaoya went to work every day either with him or with the chauffeur at home. She would wait for him to pick her up after work. Recently, he had been enjoying this kind of life. It felt like he was in a relationship. This kind of routine was actually very safe. Xiaoya wanted to ask Zhuang Yichen for an explanation, but seeing him sitting on the floor in a daze, she didn't dare to interrupt him. After a while, Zhuang Yichen waved at Xiaoya. "Come here." Although Xiaoya felt uncomfortable, she still passed. Zhuang Yichen was still sitting on the floor. He pulled Xiaoya into his arms and started to kiss her. He kissed all the places his lips could reach. "Xiaoyao," he said in a low voice. "You scared me to death." Xiaoya's heart trembled. Zhuang Yichen said that he was scared to death. Would he be scared? She will get better. When she said this, she didn't know what she felt in her heart. It was very painful. Zhuang Yichen caressed her shoulder. Her wrist was still scarred by the rope, and she had not applied any ointment. Xiaoya didn't want to apply medicine. She felt that she would get better. In fact, she wanted to take a longer time to recover because Enchanting Man's injury was too serious. She didn't know what else could compare to Enchanting Man. Did all men like weak women? At this time, she wanted to pretend to be weak. But damn it, she was drenched in the cold rain for the whole night and didn't even sneeze. His gentle lips were kissing her wrist. "Xiaoyao, you blame me. I know. But if I went to save you, you would be the one injured now. Do you understand? I can't do that. Don't blame me." Xiaoya was in a daze. She let the man kiss her wound. After she broke free, she held his face and kissed him back. Zhuang Yichen only wanted to kiss her, but her kiss made him hotter and hotter. On the floor, she sat on top of him. She didn't even take off her nightgown. She pulled down his pants and used her softest and hottest part to devour his manhood. Xiaoya kissed Zhuang Yichen. Her body was moving. Her mouth and nose were overflowing with pleasure. But her heart was crying. The tears in her heart were like the rain at that time, falling endlessly. Why did he dare to make such a bet? Who knew if the bullet that was aimed at Enchanting Man would hit her instead? The man's hand was on her waist. He held her waist tightly and increased the frequency of her movements. Then, he called her name hoarsely. A name that only he had called before. Xiaoyao. Waves of heat gushed out from their bodies, accompanied by the climax of the two of them. Li Yong went upstairs many times. After Zhuang Yichen came out of Xiaoya's body, he took a shower and went downstairs again. That night, Xiaoya didn't wait for Zhuang Yichen to come upstairs again. Xiaoya lay on the bed and did not sleep at all. Zhuang Yichen dragged a deck chair and stood guard outside Xian Man's door. He covered himself with a blanket and slept. Zhuang Yichen was now in a villa in the suburbs. The environment was good. There were a few villas built around the lake. The greenery was excellent, and the villas couldn't see each other. The night after the rain was quiet, but Zhuang Yichen would always lift the blanket and stand up. He walked through the corridor and the living room to see what was happening outside. He turned back to look at the door that was still closed because of the surgery. After a moment of silence, he lay down on the chair again. Li Yong didn't sleep a wink either. He came back from outside and changed his muddy shoes before entering the house. He bent down beside Zhuang Yichen's chair and whispered into his ear for a long time. Zhuang Yichen frowned. Xian Man's surgery ended in the morning. When she woke up, it was already 2 days later. However, on the 4th day after Xian Man woke up, she got into a conflict with Xiaoya. This commotion alarmed almost all the servants in the villa. In this villa, except for Li Yong, everyone called Zhuang Yichen, Sir. Now, the servants living in the villa behind the main villa were all talking about how Sir carried Miss Xian into his bedroom and slept with his wife. The two women shared a husband, and his wife couldn't stand it and made a scene. When night fell, Xian Man leaned against the headboard of the bed. Zhuang Yichen sat by the bed, holding a bowl of ginseng soup in his hand and feeding Xian Man. A servant stood at the door. Little Ya also stood there. She looked, and her eyes seemed to have been smoked. They were hot, sore, and painful. Zhuang Yichen, this man, had never treated her like this. She knew that the servants behind her were all laughing at her. Her husband's ex-girlfriend was sleeping on her bed, and she wasn't allowed to make a scene. Zhuang Yichen. What do you want? She's your sister-in-law. Xiaoya, you can stay downstairs. Zhuang Yichen said lightly. Xiaoya felt that if she was a person who was cultivating her inner strength in ancient times, she would definitely die from the backlash. This is my room. You're asking me to leave? The servants behind Xiaoya didn't leave, and no one dared to stop her. At this moment, Xian Man gently pushed Zhuang Yichen's bowl. Yichen, I don't want to drink anymore. I want to go to the window and get some fresh air. Okay, I'll help you up. Awesome novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 768. Zhuang Yichen had never been so obedient to anyone in front of the servants. Even if it was Xiaoya, if they wanted to be intimate, they couldn't do it in the presence of others. At this moment, some of the servants gasped. Xiaoya's fists were clenched tightly by her side. Xian Man was indeed a woman with strong inner strength. She could ignore anyone and only had eyes for Zhuang Yichen. Her hand was still in a sling, but she wanted to get off the bed and walk around. Zhuang Yichen helped her to the window. Yichen, look, it's already so late. Why don't we let everyone rest? I want to stay here and watch the moon with you. Okay. Zhuang Yichen didn't even turn his head. He just stood by the window with Xian Man in his arms. You all go to sleep. Xiaoya, you can stay downstairs. Xiaoya gritted her teeth and said, okay. Okay, she'll go downstairs and get the fruit knife from the living room downstairs. She'll kill this shameless adulterous couple. She didn't want to quarrel anymore. There was no point in quarreling. In front of the large window, the curtains were drawn. The moon was bright and clear in the sky. Xian Man was intoxicated in Zhuang Yichen's arms. Yichen, I feel so good now. I can finally lean in your arms like this. Okay. Zhuang Yichen had a smile on his face. When he looked down at Xian Man, his face was gentle. I'll get you a cup of hot water to warm your hands. When Xian Man heard this, her face lit up with a satisfied smile. When Zhuang Yichen finished pouring the water, Xiaoya hadn't come downstairs yet. She just stood there in a daze. Her body trembled as she watched Zhuang Yichen lower his head to pour the water. The curtains of the large windows in the bedroom were drawn. It was like a movie was playing in the room. Some people were happy, while others were sad. Zhuang Yichen turned around and walked towards Xian Man, Xiao Man, water. Xiaoya saw a whole row of skincare products on her dressing table. She felt that the glass of the toner bottle must be very thick. She wanted to use that bottle as a stick to beat Xian Man to death. If she didn't die and broke the bottle, she would stab the glass shards into her body. Taking 2 steps at a time, Xiaoya walks to the dressing table without even getting angry. When Zhuang Yichen and Xian Man are 3 steps away, the sound of glass being broken by a sharp weapon is heard. Xiao Man, be careful. It was the sound of the soft body smashing into the ground. Xiaoya was shocked. When she turned around, the cup had already fallen to the ground, spreading a large puddle of water. Zhuang Yichen was already on top of Xian Man. The bullet had already hit the wall inside. Ye slept on top of the bed. Xiaoya, get down. Zhuang Yichen shouted anxiously. Xiaoya smiled bitterly. In the end, she couldn't take it anymore and leaned against the glass window. She wanted to laugh, but it was so painful that her voice became hoarse. Zhuang Yichen, where do you put me? I'm your wife. Her body slowly slid down, and there were no more gunshots. She didn't hate him for not saving her time and time again. She hated him for saving Xian Man time and time again. She hated him for risking his life to save Xian Man. Xian Man was already injured. Now that she was pushed to the ground by Zhuang Yichen, her wound was bleeding profusely again. In just a moment, the whole villa was in an uproar again. Xiaoya was Zhuang Yichen's wife, but none of the servants cared about her. After closing the curtains, they started to treat the injured Xian Man. Zhuang Yichen carried Xian Man into the study room. This side was facing the backyard, so there was no way to hide a gun. Xiaoya didn't care that the doctor wanted to stop Xian Man's bleeding and smashed the study room. She rushed in and smashed the hemostatic forceps, sutures, scissors, and gauze on the tray. She overturned the hanging infusion rack on the ground. She had short hair and wouldn't be messy. But now, she knew that she must be as messy as a ghost. Sir, madam is like this. The doctor was in a dilemma. Xian Man was bleeding profusely on the sofa, but Xiaoya was too scary. She smashed everything she saw. She just cried and didn't make a sound. Although the servants looked down on Xiaoya, since the head of the family was here, Xiaoya was like an abandoned wife. But no one dared to stand out and stop her. Zhuang Yichen frowned deeply. He looked at the people in the room and then took a deep breath. His eyes suddenly became as sharp as a knife. He shouted at Xiaoya, "Little demon Xiao. Get out." "I don't want to." Xiaoya's shout scared everyone. Her voice was too loud, but it was sad. "Why should I get out? All of you." Xiaoya's back was facing Xian Man, but she pointed at her and looked at the servants. "Throw this woman out of the house." Little Ye felt that her heart was about to split open. How could she accept such a heartless and unscrupulous man? Although she had never done anything for him, she didn't do anything to let him down. How could he treat her like this? She had only been married to him for a month. She had only been a bride for a month, but she was like an abandoned wife. What right did he have to torture her like this? The only thing he had was her love for him. "Zhuang Yichen. What do you want?" "I'm your wife." "Xian Man is your wife. Aren't you a clean freak? If you care about her so much, why did you agree to marry me? Have you ever cared about me? Have you ever liked me?" "Zhuang Yichen, I love you, but I don't ask you to love me. Have you ever liked me?" "Just a little." Xiaoya had never thought of herself as a phoenix, but at this moment, when she thought of a phoenix crying blood, it must be like her. Every time she said a sentence, her heart would bleed, and it would fill her throat with sweetness. She felt that the tears that flowed out of her eyes were sticky and reeked of blood. She really wanted to ask him in front of all the servants here. She wanted to make it clear that he liked her before. Miss Cho. Xian man seemed to be enduring great pain. Yi Chen married you just to let Zhuang Yifeng's attention fall on you. It was just to protect me. Xiaoya didn't look back, but she trembled even more. She looked at Zhuang Yichen. She wanted to look into his eyes, but she couldn't. She saw that his fists were clenched by his side, and she could see that his joints were pale. Xiaoya looked at Zhuang Yichen. She smiled bleakly. Is what this woman said true? Zhuang Yichen frowned and sighed. Go downstairs. I'm asking you, is it true? Go down. Is it true? Xian man's weak voice barged in again, breaking the hysteria of the two. Yi Chen said that after this, time passes and Zhuang Yifeng's matter is settled, he will divorce you and marry me. Xiaoya didn't want to cover her mouth, but she still did. She felt that she was the strong Qiu Xiaoya. She couldn't cry like this. In front of the people of High City, she had always been the strong Qiu Xiaoya, the cold and elegant Qiu Xiaoya, the Qiu Xiaoya with a straight back, the Qiu Xiaoya who was not afraid of rumors and slanders, the Qiu Xiaoya who could enjoy herself even if she relied on a man to get to the top. Crying belonged to the weak. Crying looked like a resentful woman. At that time, she had scolded Yi Er that tears were worthless. But she couldn't help it. She couldn't help but cry secretly. Now, in front of so many people, the servants were laughing at her, the doctors were disdainful of her, and so many people were looking down on her, she could only cry desperately. It wasn't enough. She reached out and covered her mouth, wanting to block all the sounds into her mouth and swallow them. She swallowed them into her stomach, lungs, and cells. It was fine as long as those sounds didn't come out. But she couldn't block them. She didn't cry like this even when she was trapped in the swamp. These two trampled on her. They used her. Zhuang Yichen, this trampled on her. He dared to lie to her like this. Zhuang Yichen. She called out his name, but it was unclear. You want to divorce me and marry that woman? Xiaoya's voice was choked in her throat. After a long time, she finally spoke in a trembling voice. Don't even think about it. Zhuang Yichen. You're AF * king bastard. Xiaoya felt that her mind was collapsing. She couldn't hold back her tears anymore. She was wearing slippers, so she was shorter than Zhuang Yichen. At this moment, her chest was slightly lowered, making her seem even weaker. She reached out and covered her chest. She wanted to grab the threads in her chest and pull them, but she couldn't grab them. Instead, she pulled until the threads broke. Zhuang Yichen, you lied to me. What did I, Xiaoya, do to you? Why are you lying to me? Zhuang Yichen slowly retracted his ruthless aura. His gaze became colder and colder. In the end, he raised his arms, making his posture look incomparably lazy. Little demon Xiao, what did you do to me? Do you think I don't know? Do you think I don't know that you came to me because my eyes look like Kang Yun's? Is that right? Because you were abandoned by Kang Yun, you want to find someone who looks like him to be a substitute, right? Even if it's a prostitute, you're still willing to find someone who has similar characteristics to him, right? Xiaoya was stunned. Then, her body trembled. Just as she was completely distracted, the doctor started to treat Xian man's wound again. Zhuang Yichen saw that Xiaoya was in a daze. His eyes narrowed slightly. The fists in his arms were tightly clenched. Are you admitting to it? Xiaoya didn't say anything. The air was very quiet. It was so quiet that only Xian man's moans could be heard because of the pain from the wound that had reopened. She looked into Zhuang Yichen's eyes. For a very long time. Zhuang Yichen also noticed that Xiaoya was looking at him. He generously allowed his eyes to meet hers. Xiaoya slowly stopped crying. Her tears slowly stopped moving forward. How did you know? Zhuang Yichen clenched his fists even tighter. Kang Yun and I are right there. Anyone with a discerning eye can see it. How else do you need to know? But you shouldn't ask this now. Go downstairs. Don't affect Xiao Man's wound. Are you really going to divorce me because of her? Xiaoya asked again. I'll talk to you about this when Xiao Man's wound is better. I don't have time now. Xiaoya's dried up tears started to moisten again. Yichen. She called out these two words with a humble begging tone. Even when she forced him to get married, she also said that they would break up if they didn't get married. She had always been so tough. Awesome novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 769. But at this time, she began to put down her fake pride and started to beg in front of him. Yichen, I've been with you for 4 years. No, 4.5 years, right? She took 2 steps forward and tugged at the sleeve on his arm. When she touched his sturdy arm, she leaned her face against his chest and listened to his heartbeat. She said softly, even though we didn't even have a meal or supper together in private in the past, even though you wouldn't visit me for 10 days or half a month, even though you didn't even take the initiative to pick out a gift for me and let Uncle Li do it for you, and it was only once on my birthday. But it's been more than 4 years. Other people fall in love and get married in half a year or a year. 4 years together is equivalent to half a year or a year for other people, right? What's more, we've been together almost every day for the past few months. Yichen, even if you're a block of ice, shouldn't you have melted? I'm also a block of ice. I've melted. Why haven't you melted? She thought that after losing Kang Yun, she would become ice. But now she felt that she wasn't ice. She had melted into water and was flowing out from the small hole in her lower eyelid. He pushed her away. If Xiao Man hadn't married Zhuang Yifeng, do you think you would still have a share? These bone-chilling words were undoubtedly like a vicious knife to the current little Ya. I'm going downstairs. You're not rational now. I won't talk to you. Xiaoya decided to take a step back. It wasn't easy for her to hold on to the identity of Mrs. Zhuang for 4 years. How could she give it up? How many more years did she have? No one went downstairs with Xiaoya. The servants were all fighting to curry favor with Zhuang Yichen's new favorite. They all said that they were willing to stay overnight with Miss Xian. She was so badly injured, and they were afraid that Miss Xian would be in danger again. But everyone knew that the study was facing the back of the villa, which was the direction of the servants' building. The view was very wide, and if there was any abnormality, they would be the first to notice. But even so, the servants were still willing to stay here and ask for credit from Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen kept holding Xian Man's hand and comforting her not to be afraid because he was here. What Xian Man said the most was, Yichen, it's so good to have you around. Such a scene could be written into a sensational romance novel. Several servants were moved to tears. They felt that this was true love. Sir actually married Madame for Miss Xian. Although Madame was not favored, she was really pitiful. No one in the house had ever seen Madame cry like today. It was simply too shocking. Zhuang Yichen was the only one talking in the 90 square meter study room. He kept giving orders to his subordinates, and even Li Yong couldn't get a word in. Go and light Viney's favorite incense. It has to be calming. Move this sofa away and bring in a bed. The mattress can't be too soft, but the pillow must be soft. Xiao Man likes soft pillows. Bring a basin of hot water over. Just don't let the water temperature be around 40 degrees. Get a glass of warm water. Put 2 slices of lemon and a pear in it. Viney likes to drink this kind of water. Xiaoya was downstairs in the guest room. She didn't sleep. She just sat on the bed and listened to the servants running up and down the corridor. She sat quietly and didn't feel irritated. She was waiting for dawn. When dawn came, there might be another way. Although she never understood Zhuang Yichen, she clearly knew that she loved him. It didn't matter if she understood or not. She loved him. But how could she be such a person? She was abandoned by Kang Yun and swore that she wouldn't love him anymore. Now, she actually fell in love with another person. Was she born fickle? She loved Kang Ian to such an extent. At that time, she was sad every day. She wanted to commit suicide, to die, to never say love again. But now, she fell in love with another person. She loved so painfully and so passionately. Was she too fickle or too devoted? She should be fickle, right? Only a devoted person would love only one person for a lifetime. She loved someone so much that she would want to die if she left him. Just like how she used to love Kang Ian. Now, her heart was broken because of Zhuang Yichen. Xiaoya was thinking. If Zhuang Yichen wanted to divorce her, what should she do? Many years later, could she fall in love with another person again? Would that person still abandon her? This was Xiaoya. She was still thinking about the future at this time. She smiled. She could wait until the future. She was about to be defeated now. She wasn't afraid of Xian Man. She was afraid that Zhuang Yichen didn't care about her at all. If that was the case, even if Xian Man didn't do anything, she would still die. No wonder people said that a woman could conquer the world only by conquering a man. She couldn't even conquer a man now. The next morning, Xiaoya waited until the first ray of light shone in from the window. It was dawn. She was still sitting on the edge of the bed. At this time, she stood up and opened the door. She walked past the living room and went upstairs. The villa was very quiet. The door of the study was open. The door was stuck to the wall. It was probably to make it easier for the servants to come in and out. They were afraid that opening and closing the door would disturb the patient. The layout of the study was very strange. Because the sofa had been moved away and there was a bed. There were two people sleeping on the bed. Their hands were outside the blanket and they were holding each other. Xiaoya gritted her teeth and clenched her fists. Her body was trembling. She walked over and walked to the place where Xian Man was sleeping. It was because of this woman that she ruined the fruit that she had cultivated for more than 4 years. Her mind was getting more and more muddled. She took a square pillow from the bed. When she held it in her hands, her palms were full of sweat. When she covered Xian Man's face, she used all her strength. She said in her heart, "Qiu Xiaoya, you are a vicious female supporting character. No matter how much you love that man, he won't love you. You can't be the female lead. Then be vicious to the end and kill this weak female lead. Let everyone hate you. Kill this weak and lovable female lead. Let everyone curse you." Xian Man squeezed Zhuang Yichen's hand tightly. She kept struggling and kicking off the blanket. Her heels were rubbing against the bed, but she couldn't resist. Zhuang Yichen opened his eyes. When he saw the scene before him, he exclaimed, "Little demon Xiao. Let go of me." The servants rushed into the room one after another. Zhuang Yichen wanted to pull Xiaoya away, but Xiaoya turned around and bit him. She was still holding the pillow in her hand, trying to choke Xian Man to death. Pia. A slap landed heavily on Xiaoya's face. She was slapped to the center of the room. When she landed on the ground, her head hit the coffee table. There was a metallic taste in her mouth. Zhuang Yichen shouted, "Doctor! Doctor!" When Xiaoya smiled, there was blood at the corner of her mouth. She lifted her chin and looked at Zhuang Yichen, who was shouting for the doctor to give Xian Man oxygen. Before she could stand up, Zhuang Yichen shouted at her angrily, "How dare you try to kill Xiao Man? Get out of here right now. Uncle Li, throw Xiaoya out of this house. Let her go back to her own home. That's her maiden home." Xiaoya supported herself with her hands on the ground. "You're chasing me out? You're a crazy woman." Zhuang Yichen sat on the edge of the bed. He hugged Xian Man and patted her back. "Don't let me see you. Get out. Zhuang Yichen, you hit me." When Xiaoya said this, she was smiling and tearing up. She took a breath. "Zhuang Yichen, you said that you don't spend women's money. You said that you're a gentleman in front of the women you're intimate with. You said that you're no match for the women you've been intimate with." Zhuang Yichen, I'm intimate with you too, aren't I? But you hit me, didn't you? It turns out that I don't even have an intimate relationship with you. Xiaoya exhaled, anyway, Xian man and I, if she doesn't die, I'll die. Are you going to protect her like this? Zhuang Yichen didn't even think about it. He was still supporting Xian man with one hand while the doctor pinched her philtrum. Get out of here right now. It's harder to guard against you than against Zhuang Yifeng. Guard against me? You're actually guarding against me? You've never been in charge of your family business. You've never needed to guard against me. Now, you're guarding against me because of Xian man? Xiaoya thought, Zhuang Yichen, you'd better kill me. What's the difference between this and death? He pulled her up from the position of the underground prostitute to the position of Mrs. Zhuang. But now, he gave her a kick. He wanted to kick her down and pull Xian man up to the position of Mrs. Zhuang. His kick was going to take her life. Even if it took her life, he had to do it. I'm still guarding against Zhuang Yifeng. At least he can't enter this house. But you, living here is like a bomb. Xiao Man can be killed by you at any time. Immediately. Move out. Zhuang Yichen's words were merciless. A servant finally dared to mock her. She said that she was thick-skinned. She still had the face to stay in this house after being scolded by Mr. Zhuang Yichen. Didn't she see that Miss Xian was taller and more beautiful than her? She was also a lady from a respectable family. Unlike her, she was a woman who relied on Mr. Zhuang Yichen to get to the top. After all, Miss Xian's father was a businessman. She could be considered to be part of a small wealthy family. What was she? She was a woman who helped others make clothes. Miss Xian and Mr. Zhuang Yichen had been together for many years. He married her just to protect Miss Xian. Zhuang Yichen, don't you have anything to say? Apart from asking her to move out, did he have nothing else to say? Zhuang Yichen sneered, you almost suffocated Xiao Man to death. What else do you want me to say? Well, don't let me see her. Otherwise, I'll kill her with a knife. Xiaoya's eyes fell on Xian Man's pale face. She believed that if she had a little more time, she could kill this woman. It was true. She would only feel better if she killed Xian Man. She had never killed anyone before. But just now, when she put the pillow on Xian Man's face and saw her struggling, her heart was filled with emotions. She was no longer afraid. Zhuang Yichen's eyes darkened, it seems. I should have thrown you out earlier. Thrown? Xiaoya stood up and slightly tilted her head. Her eyes curved into crescents, so it's an object? Uncle Li. Zhuang Yichen shouted. Li Yong quickly entered the study. He glanced at Xiaoya indifferently, young master. Xiaoya looked at Li Yong. They were really master and servant. When Zhuang Yichen was good to her, Li Yong was very respectful to her. After Zhuang Yichen had a bad opinion of her because of Xian Man, Li Yong's attitude was the same as Zhuang Yichen's. He led all the servants in the house to despise her. This was the power of power. Zhuang Yichen looked at Li Yong and said angrily, download a divorce agreement online and write her a check. Don't say that I, Zhuang Yichen, treat women badly. Li Yong seemed to be in a difficult position. He said respectfully, young master, young madam has been with you for a long time. You two got along well before. Her temper is just a little bad now. She will get along well with Miss Xian in the future. Why don't we just forget about the divorce? Forget about it? Zhuang Yichen glared at Xiaoya. She almost suffocated Xiao Man with the pillow just now. If I hadn't been worried about Xiao Man's safety and stayed here to watch over her, Xiao Man would be a dead woman now. Awesome novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 770. Li Yong was shocked. He turned his head and saw Xiaoya's calm and disdainful smile. He frowned and said, young madam, why don't you apologize to Miss Xian? Xiaoya smiled and said, apologize? Shouldn't they be the ones apologizing to me? Even the person whom Zhuang Yichen relied on the most was biased towards Xan Man. Someone in the house tried to persuade Xiaoya, "Madam, why don't you apologize to Miss Xan?" Miss Xan was also shocked, and just now she had a close brush with death. Yixia was worse than him. Zhuang Yichen interrupted coldly, "Who allowed you to call her madam?" The servant was stunned and quickly shut her mouth. "Uncle Li. Go. Download the divorce agreement now and ask her to get lost. She doesn't know what's good for her." Xiaoya stood there and watched as Xiao Yong went out. She did not move. "Zhuang Yichen, you hit me. Aren't you going to apologize? When we got married, we made a vow. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning?" Zhuang Yichen asked. "When you wanted to suffocate Xiao Man with a pillow, did you think about being struck by lightning?" Xiaoya said, "I thought about it. I thought about whether you would still recognize me when I was struck by lightning." Xiaoya's voice choked. She paused for a long time and forced herself to suppress her emotions. "Zhuang Yichen, I don't know how much Xan Man loves you. I also don't know how much you two loved each other in the past. I also know that I don't have anything to give. You have everything. You don't lack anything. You don't lack women. What else can I give you?" "Nothing." At this point, Xiaoya suddenly had an idea. Xan Man had always been by Zhuang Yichen's side. What was she to him? "Actually, in your eyes, I'm just a materialistic woman who is content with enjoying life, right? I can't compare to Xan Man. She must have helped you a lot after marrying Zhuang Yichen. What can I give you? How can I help you? I've been by your side all these years. Other than letting you make me famous and let me earn more money, what have I done for you? How can I compare to her? She helped you defeat Zhuang Yifeng." Xiaoya wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. She raised her head and looked at the ceiling. There was a chandelier above her head. It was very old and had a design and color from decades ago. She had once asked him why he had placed such an old lamp in this villa. He had said that he was actually a nostalgic person and that this lamp was his mother's favorite when she was alive. His mother had always been a taboo topic for him. She didn't dare to ask, but she thought that Xan Man must know. Who was she? After following a man for more than 4 years, she didn't even know anything. She only knew that in the end, she was tortured by all kinds of things until her heart and soul were broken. She blinked hard and didn't want to cry anymore. She really didn't want to. Not only did he hit her, he even told her to get lost. When she looked at Zhuang Yichen again, her eyes were as clear as a mirror and her voice was calm and indifferent. "You need her more than you need me. I just realized that I don't know anything about you. I love you so much. Until now, when I think about it, I still don't know what I love about you. Love your money? Don't you know that I have no lack of rich people pursuing me? I love your appearance. But is Kang Yin worse than you? Don't I have a tall, rich, and handsome man by my side? Zhuang Yichen, what do I love about you? Love that you didn't accompany me in the past? Didn't care about me? Ignored me? Didn't take care of me? Let me think, I really have a tendency to torture myself. There are so many men in the world, you're not the only one. Why should I love you? You don't love me anyway. But even so, when I was in the swamp, I still wanted to tell you that I love you. After Zhuang Yijin caught me, I knew that he wanted to threaten you. From the bottom of my heart, I never hoped that you would save me. I didn't want you to go, you'd be dead if you went. I thought that you could find a woman and give birth to a son. You have so many assets, you have to have someone to inherit them. But you went, you didn't do it to save me. Xiaoya paused and continued, Zhuang Yichen, there's always a limit to hurting people, right? It doesn't matter if you marry me or don't love me. You just have to live a good life with me. I just want a normal relationship between husband and wife. You're so rich, and I'm not an old-fashioned woman. Do you really think that I'm not fresh enough and want to have a woman outside? If no one finds out, I won't do anything. I won't investigate you. After all, there are no fish in clear water. But you moved a woman into your house and cared for her in such a way. You're insulting me, do you know that? Do you think that I've been making a deal with you for money and sex from the very beginning? So, you never needed to respect me, right? Xiaoye shook her head. Forget it. What's the point of arguing with you about this? You went to save her without a care in the world. At the critical moment, you were willing to throw me into the rain as a target. When we got home, you even put her in our bedroom so that you could see her more easily. Yesterday, you didn't care about your own safety and took a bullet for her. Now, you're with her the whole night. You're guarding her like this, and even I can't get close to her. After some time, when she recovers, my bed will be hers too. You can have it. I don't want it anymore. When Li Yong came in, he saw that some of the servants' eyes were red. Zhuang Yichen was only focused on looking at Xian Man's changes. The divorce agreement was first handed to Zhuang Yichen. He signed it without even looking at it. Xiaoye saw that he signed it without hesitation. She had said so much, but he was still indifferent. The agreement was handed to her. There were hard teaching materials on it so that she could sign it while standing. They had only been married for a month, and he had already told her to get lost in front of so many people. Men were indeed unreliable. Marriage was not a reliable thing to begin with. Why did she yearn for it so wholeheartedly? If she had always been his underground prostitute, things wouldn't have ended up like this today. She didn't look at the agreement. She signed beside Zhuang Yichen's signature. Xiaoye handed the signed agreement to Li Yong. She straightened her back and returned to her usual noble and cold self. Uncle Li, will we change the marriage certificate when we go out later? He probably doesn't have time to go. Why don't you come with me? You have so many connections. Maybe you can change the red book to a green one with just a call. I'll go and pack my things. Will you drive me there? Li Yong turned around and glanced at Zhuang Yichen. Uncle Li, go on my behalf. Xiao Man needs someone to take care of her now. Yes, young master. Xiaoye left the study room and returned to the bedroom where they had stayed before. She packed her clothes into an oversized suitcase. She moved very quickly, as if she needed to escape from the scene as quickly as possible. But the suitcase was the largest size at the airport, and there were still many gowns that couldn't fit in it. She didn't wear these gowns much. Most of them were small gowns that she would wear to work. But there were some that she had unknowingly made for herself in the past. In fact, she had always imagined that one day, Zhuang Yichen would bring her to some cocktail party. She should have made some preparations to showcase herself properly and not embarrass him. But now, it seemed that she didn't need to use it. These memories were really annoying and torturous. Just thinking about it made her heart tremble and hurt. It was as if all her veins were being twisted. It was so painful that she was about to die. Her scissors were big sharp scissors. She used them to make clothes. Those scissors were very heavy and the blade was very fast. When she ate the cloth into the blade, there was a kacha sound. The sound was a little crisp. Shaw. Zhuang Yichen also used the same scissors. It was so sharp that it cut her flesh. Cut by cut, until she was full of holes. She threw the gowns on the floor and squatted down. They were all cut into pieces. They were so broken that she couldn't wear them anymore. Then, it was Zhuang Yichen's clothes. His clothes were basically made by her. He always took care of her business. Even the lapels of his suit were made by her. The lapels rolled over the beautiful edges. She would fold the lapels into beautiful lapels and insert them into the breast pocket of his suit. Then, his lips curled up slightly. He looked at himself in the mirror and hugged her waist. He lowered his head and licked her earlobe. Miss Chio's handiwork is really good. I can pay more for these clothes. She cut the clothes, tie, and lapels that she made for him. They were all tattered. She held a light purple striped tie in her hand for a long time, unable to take it off. That was the first gift she had given him. Although she had made it, she had never received any money from him. It was a gift. At that time, she had been very busy ordering goods, and the company had received a batch of fabric. She thought that he would look good in a tie of this color, so she had spent a week making one for him. She was a little reluctant to give up her first gift. But there can be no construction without destruction. She couldn't be reluctant. The scissors moved once, twice, 3 or 4 times. She cut off her reluctance. There was a red 8-piece bedding set in the cupboard. If she left, would he ask the helpers to make the bed? Then, would he hug Enchanting and roll on the bed sheets? The beautiful red lace was stacked on the edge of the red lotus leaves. The lace looked very thick, like a European palace. Her mother said that Chinese people married for auspicious reasons. Chinese people thought that red was more auspicious than white. Red bedding was a must. She made it. Every stitch and thread was the joy of being a bride. There were a few times when she smiled while stepping on the sewing machine. She used the small gauze scissors to pick out the ends of the threads and cut them clean. Including the wedding dress, she hung it up and wrapped it well. At this time, her scissors joined the scissors used to cut the fabric. She cut the needle and thread that she used her heart's blood and sweat to sew. She took a lot of wedding photos. She wanted to get married only once in her life. Other people only needed to take 4 or 5 sets of photos, but she tormented Zhuang Yichen 13 sets. But now, she took out those photo albums and threw them on the bed. After opening them, she used the scissors to cut off all the smiling faces. No one could tell who the people in the photos were. Welfare, Xinwu 799. Chapter 771. The first mate's prints and crystals hung on the wall. Everything that could be scratched had been scratched. Wedding photos made of crystal were difficult to make. She sat on the floor and placed the large photo she had taken from the wall on the floor. She held the scissors in a reverse grip and let the blade scratch the surface of the glass. Since it couldn't scratch the glass, she moved the large photo to the window and knocked it against the wall. It shattered instantly. She turned on Zhuang Yichen's computer and reformatted all their photos. Finally, he saw the mess in the room. Little Ya's hand, which was holding the scissors, was already bleeding from the abrasion. Her body was clearly not thin, but when she stood up, she was as thin as a piece of paper. She felt empty. She had made such a big scene, but none of the servants came to see her. No one came to see what she had destroyed. He definitely wouldn't feel bad. If he didn't care about her, would he care about these things? What was she still waiting for? The horn downstairs had already sounded twice. Li Yong's car was ready. She couldn't wait for anyone. The marriage certificate was placed under the jewelry box because she felt that it was very valuable. She took it out and held it in her hand. In a month's time, it would turn from red to green. She had been thinking about it for so long, but it was really worthless. She had made up her mind. She pulled the handle of her luggage and was about to leave, but the marriage certificate in her hand seemed to be burning. It burned Xiao Ye's palm and fingertips. The burning sensation spread all the way to her heart. She sniffed and closed her eyes for a few seconds to calm down. Then she opened her handbag and took out her phone. She turned on the camera function and placed the marriage certificate on the bed to take a photo. She then opened the marriage certificate and took a photo of the contents inside. Xiaoya got into Li Yong's car without saying a word. Li Yong drove slowly. Young mistress, although young master is taking care of Miss Xian now, she's injured now. You should give in to her. Xiaoya was looking out of the window. At this moment, she was so angry that she turned around and raised her voice. Uncle Li, I've already been used badly by them. Now you're asking me to give in to that woman? They've known each other for many years. You can just say that they're brother-in-law and sister-in-law on the surface, but they're having an affair in secret. Young madam, which successful man doesn't have a woman outside? Xiaoya had too much unhappiness in her heart. She was so agitated by Li Yong that she vomited it all out. Do you have to bring the woman home? As you can see, he's all day now. All day she was so worried about Exian Man that she didn't even trust the food sent by the servants. Everyone who participated in the cooking had to taste it for fear that someone would poison Exian Man. Exian Man, this damned woman, is almost catching up with the Empress. Young mistress, why don't we not get a divorce first? I'll send you back to your parents' home first. When Miss Exian recovers, young master's temper will also improve. Xiaoya felt that Li Yong was really capable. The first half of his sentence could make you feel a little better, but the second half could make you die of anger. It was all because of Exian Man. No need. Let's go and get our marriage certificate changed. Let him take care of Exian Man for the rest of his life. Cheating couple. Xiaoya gritted her teeth and cursed the last 3 words. She leaned back and closed her eyes. It was indeed easy for rich people to get things done. Zhuang Yichen didn't appear, but they were able to get their marriage certificate changed quickly. Xiaoya sat in Li Yong's car to send her back to her parents' home. Uncle Li, send me to Qingfeng Garden. I don't want to go back to my parents' home now. Now that I'm in such a state. She suddenly choked on her words. Xiaoya looked out of the window. She kept telling herself that she wasn't allowed to cry. She wasn't allowed to cry. If she cried again, she would change her name. But when she thought about going home and having to face her parents, she didn't know what to do. Her mother was a little snobbish, and her father was a little cowardly. But both of them loved her without exception. She didn't even dare to face Xia Qian now. Yi Er didn't dare to face her either. In what way was Yi Er better than her? Even if she was taller than her, her looks wouldn't be that much better. She was much more independent than Yi Er. Yi Er relied on men to get to where she was. But Qiu Xiaoya made so much money. What about Yi Er? Jiang Zhao kept Yi Er under strict control and didn't allow her to show her face in public. Opening a dance studio for a month might not even make as much money as she made in a day. Wasn't it just because she had Jiang Zhao doting on her? Was that a big deal? Was that a big deal just because she found a good man? In what way was Qian Qian better than her? Qian Qian caused trouble all day long. Wasn't it just because she saved Qin Fian when she was 12? Qin Fian pretended to be gay for her for more than 10 years. No matter how stupid she was, he always said that it was because she was innocent and wasn't as scheming as women these days. Wasn't it just because she had Qin Fian doting on her? Was that a big deal? If she found a good man, would all of them lead a better life than her? Xiaoya covered her mouth and sobbed, Uncle Li, I'm going back to Qingfeng Garden, okay, young mistress. Just call me Miss Qiu like before, Li Yong said. Li Yong said, Miss Qiu, I'll get someone to clean up Qingfeng Garden for you later. It's okay. I have nothing to do right now. I'll clean it myself. Xiaoya was a designer and was lazy as hell. She never wanted to do the cleaning herself. When she used to live in Qingfeng Garden, her mother would clean it for her every week. Usually, there would be a part-time cleaner who would clean it every other day. Xiaoya knelt on the floor and wiped it over and over again. She even washed the bed sheets. She didn't move her luggage out and left it at the door. Under the night sky, she drew the thick curtains but pulled the gauze back. As she lay on the sofa in the living room, she thought about how many times he had showered early and waited for her. The moment she entered the house, he would pounce on her like a wolf. He was a clean freak and would throw her into the bathroom to shower. She had exchanged her body for this house. It was a duplex with 2 floors. Other than coming to sleep with her, he would never come here. Her hand was injured, but when she was cleaning today, she didn't wear gloves and didn't feel the pain. Now, she felt that the wound had turned white. Her immune system was really good. She didn't even have an infection or a fever. Why did Yi Er always end up in the hospital and make Jiang Zhao's heart ache? Everyone had different lives, right? Although Yi Er's father was dead and her mother had gone crazy, she still had a younger brother. Jiang Zhao loved her so much. Even when she called him after 10 at night, Jiang Zhao would yell at her. He was very protective of her. It was as if Yi Er was the only woman in the world who could get pregnant. Was it a big deal? She wanted to call Yi Er and tell her everything, but she realized that she couldn't bring herself to do so. She was pregnant. Why would she call her and tell her these things? Her crying made the pregnant woman's mood bad. When the time came, Jiang Zhao would snatch the phone and yell at her again. Xiaoya felt that she was going to explode from holding it in. It was as if there was a bomb in her body. However, she kept her mouth shut, covered her ears, closed her eyes, and held her breath. Her 7 orifices were tightly shut, and the bomb was kept in her body. It exploded until her organs were rotten. Lilia tossed and turned on the sofa as if she had gone mad. She grabbed her hair and bit her lips so hard that they started to bleed. When she cried out, the room that she had cleaned up started to echo. It was as if there was a vengeful spirit in the room. Anyone who heard it would shed tears. Zhuang Yichen. You scum. Scum. Ah. She cried for a long time before she stopped. She wanted to go out for a walk, but she couldn't stand up. Her whole body was weak. After thinking about it, she didn't dare to go out. Every time she walked along the corridor, she would think about where he had been in this building. A place filled with memories was really scary. It was as if there were ghosts everywhere. Xiaoya made one last call. Although she knew that it was very late, she still made a call. The call was a random ringtone. After a while, the person on the other end picked up. Boss Chiu, it's so late. Why are you calling me instead of discussing with your son-in-law how to have a baby? Xiaoya sighed. This was her mother. Mrs. Chiu, I want to tell you something. Huh? Mom. Mrs. Chiu sensed that something was wrong. Boss, did Zhuang Yichen bully you? Mom, I want to ask you. Have you always wanted me to marry a rich man? As long as he's rich, I can do anything. Xiaoya looked at the ceiling. Her tears fell again. Of course it's good to be rich. With money, you can do anything. Is being rich better than being happy? With money comes happiness. Don't you know that? Look at the life you're living now. So many people are jealous. Mom, I'm telling you. You're not allowed to make a fuss. You're not allowed to scold me. You're not allowed to tell anyone. Xiaoya sobbed. Mrs. Chiu was frightened. In Xiaoya's life, she rarely called her mother Mom. She usually called her Mrs. Chiu. What is it? Promise me. I promise you. Mom, I'm divorced. Zhuang Yichen gave me a check. It's a lot of money. Does being rich bring happiness? I'll give you the check. Mom, don't say anything. Let me finish. You don't want me to die for another man, right? Then you mustn't look for him. Don't look like you've been bullied when you go looking for him. Don't look like he owes me when you go looking for him, Mom, okay? He doesn't owe me anything. Mrs. Chiu was silent for a long time. Then she said firmly, I can't do it. Then go look for him. Then I'll jump off the building. Chiu, Xiaoya. Mom, leave me some dignity. I didn't tell anyone, not even Qianqian. The reason why I told you, Mom, is because I don't know whose arms I should lean into. Mom, I want to leave High City. Please help me. I can't stay here any longer. I can't stay here for another minute. I want to leave quietly. Xiaoya didn't know if this was the right thing to do. She only knew that she had already let go of all her dignity. She didn't want anyone to look for Zhuang Yichen again. She knew her mother well. If Kang Yun hadn't disappeared, her mother would have taken a knife and killed someone. She wasn't 20 years old. Not everyone would die for love. Welfare, Hongcha 866. Chapter 772. She didn't have the courage to die for him every single time. She was becoming more and more realistic, but everything was just a cycle. Xiaoya raised her hand in the air and looked at her palm. The mottled wounds weren't even swollen. She wanted to see her palm lines clearly. But she couldn't see them clearly because they were blocked by the wounds. She wondered if her palm lines were different from Yi Er's and Xia Qian's. That was why her life was so difficult. Zhuang Yichen didn't leave Xian Man's side. Even when Xiaoya left, he didn't go to see her. He left the company's affairs to Li Yong. He would discuss and decide on the important matters first. The maids kept changing shifts to serve Xian Man. Zhuang Yichen saw that Xian Man had fallen asleep. He paced around the room anxiously. Seeing that Xian Man wasn't moving at all, he took out a cigarette and lit it. He took a few deep puffs and said, "Didn't the doctor say when she would recover?" The maid frowned and said respectfully, "Sir, you were always there when the doctor was there." "I might not have been there at that time." Zhuang Yichen shouted angrily, "What do you mean by that?" "Huh? I can't even ask you that." The maid trembled. Sir, that's not what I meant." "No, I really wasn't there at that time." "Really?" The room was filled with smoke in no time. Xian Man choked on the smoke and coughed violently. Zhuang Yichen took another deep puff before throwing the cigarette butt into the ashtray. He didn't extinguish it. He helped Xian Man up and patted her back. "Little man, I'm sorry. I thought you were asleep, so I smoked." Xian Man's coughing stretched her wound. Soon, the back of her arm began to bleed again. Zhuang Yichen shouted anxiously at the maid. "Hurry up and get a glass of water for little man. I'll go over to the room to get some cough syrup." Okay. The maid hurried to get a glass of water for Xian Man. Zhuang Yichen put Xian Man down. "I'll be right there. I drink that every time I cough." Xian Man's eyes were filled with comfort. She felt that Zhuang Yichen had never treated her so well in her entire life. Even when they were together before, he had never cared for her like this. Was it really because she was injured that he could treat her like this? She would rather never get better. Zhuang Yichen left the study and finally entered the bedroom. He turned on the lights, but the curtains were still closed. He held his forehead and looked at the mess in the room. His fists were clenched so tightly that they were trembling. Photos, photo frames, bed sheets, clothes, nothing was good. The wardrobe door was still open. His body swayed, and he leaned against the wall. After taking a few deep breaths, he went to the bedside table to grab a syrup and left the bedroom. At this time, the servant was supporting Xian Man and feeding her water. Zhuang Yichen did not say anything. He rushed over and punched the servant. "Who the hell allowed you to touch her?" The servant was shocked. Seeing Zhuang Yichen's bloodshot eyes, he was extremely terrifying. He immediately trembled in fear. "Sir, Miss Xian is injured. She can't sit up. Don't you know how to call me?" Zhuang Yichen punched him again. He stood up and pulled the man up from the floor. Then, he threw him onto the coffee table. "How dare you touch my woman? Who do you think you are?" "Sir, I just helped her up." "Just helped her up?" Zhuang Yichen's voice was filled with rage. His eyes were cruel, and his fist was fierce. Everyone who heard the news was shocked. They thought that Zhuang Yichen went to get syrup for Miss Xian and came back to see the servant helping Miss Xian up. He was furious. Everyone knew that Zhuang Yichen was a clean freak, but this was too much. In the past, Madame could not avoid any physical contact with the servants. This was simply too much of a possessiveness. Zhuang Yichen's villa was like a gossip center. Every day, there were more interesting comments than the entertainment newspapers. When Li Yong pulled Zhuang Yichen away, the servant who was badly beaten up was carried out for a doctor to check. Zhuang Yichen seemed to be still angry. He pushed Li Yong away and pulled out another man. He punched him. "What are you doing here? Didn't you see that Xiao Man was coughing? Don't you know to find a doctor? The servants retreated in fright and swarmed to find the doctor. Li Yong felt that something was wrong. When the servant went downstairs, he quickly opened the door to the bedroom that the servant mentioned. Sir went to the bedroom to get syrup for Miss Enchanting. The moment he opened the door, he immediately closed it. Li Yong knew that it was over. This time, everyone in the house would not have a good life. Sure enough, Enchanting man's back was bleeding again. Zhuang Yichen picked up something and threw it at the people who came in. When Enchanting man coughed, whoever came in was beaten up. It was not even midnight. Only the doctor, Li Yong, and some other women were not beaten up. Zhuang Yichen said that if the doctor could not stop Enchanting man's bleeding and make her recover, he would not let him go. A week later, Enchanting man got better. She could get out of bed and go downstairs. Zhuang Yichen suggested to take her out for a walk. Li Yong hurriedly said, "Young master, Miss Enchanting just recovered. It's not suitable, right?" However, Zhuang Yichen hugged Enchanting man and said gently, "Xiao man must be tired from staying in this house. Tomorrow, I'll take you to Clubhouse A. You must have not been there for a long time. I remember that you liked the cocktails there." Li Yong was very worried. He wanted to stop them, but there were spies everywhere in this house. If they went out today, wouldn't it be too rushed? Clubhouse A was a high-end clubhouse in Haicheng. It only accepted billionaires. Even the so-called bodyguards were not allowed to enter. If Li Yong followed, he could only stay in the sub-district. The main district was full of rich businessmen and high-ranking political officials. Li Yong obviously realized that Zhuang Yichen could no longer control his emotions. These few days, he was so angry that he probably did not want to send Zhuang Yichen to prison. Li Yong could usually understand what Zhuang Yichen wanted to do. "Young master, Miss Enchanting's wound is still a little painful. She can't drink. Why don't we wait for a while?" Zhuang Yichen ignored Li Yong. His eyes were dark. He lowered his head and touched Enchanting man's forehead. "Xiao man, do you want to go out for a walk?" "Yichen, I really want to go out for a walk. I'm going crazy staying at home." Enchanting man naturally called Zhuang Yichen's villa home. She did not even notice the flash of hatred in Zhuang Yichen's eyes. Mama Chiu finally came back from her cousin's house. She wrapped the new household register, ID card, and bank card in a handkerchief. The handkerchief was a piece of cloth that Mama Chiu had taken from Xiaoya. It was not as fine as the machine that Xiaoya used, but the handkerchief was very delicate. It was like a small fan that was connected together. The handkerchief was red. Mama Chiu said that it was auspicious. Papa Chiu remained silent. "Eldest sister, you're so fast." "Yes." Mama Chiu replied in a choked voice. "Old Chiu, do you think eldest sister will seek death this time?" "She won't." Papa Chiu stood at home. He wanted to take something, but he did not know what to take. "She asked you to change her identity and go far away. It means that she wants to start a new life. Why would she seek death? You have to believe in eldest sister. But there's only 500,000 in this card. Is it enough for eldest sister?" Mama Chiu held the handkerchief wrapped in the handkerchief. She raised it and wiped the tears from her eyes with the back of her hand. "You said that she has been extravagant these past few years. Sometimes, a random outfit costs 500,000. But I haven't cared about her money all these years." Xiaoya asked Mama Chiu to withdraw the money from the family account and deposit it in her new name and account. There was no need for any financial transactions. She even went to see her aunt directly. She did not call in advance. She did not choose to board a plane with her ID card. "Sai, don't worry about that. Eldest sister is good at cooking. She won't starve anywhere." Papa Chiu forced himself to comfort Mama Chiu. Actually, he was more frightened than Mama Chiu. He only had one biological daughter. No matter how close Xia Qian was to them, she was not their biological daughter. It was hard to explain. Mama Chiu was in charge of everything in the family. Papa Chiu felt even more uneasy when he saw Mama Chiu cry. By the time Xiaoya returned home, it was noon. Mama Chiu had already prepared lunch. At the table, Xiaoya ate whatever she liked. No one said a word. It was useless to say anything. Every time someone spoke, they would cry. After lunch, Mama Chiu cleared the dishes. When she came out, she saw Papa Chiu sitting on the sofa with a remote control in his hand. Xiaoya was sleeping on the sofa with her head resting on Papa Chiu's lap. Mrs. Chiu looked at her husband. Her face was wet, but she didn't cry. Tears flowed down her husband's cheeks to the bottom of the stool. Drops of tears fell on the shirt over his chest, wetting a large patch. Papa Chiu sat there and Xiaoya continued sleeping. She slept until the next day. Xiaoya did not take anything with her when she left. She only took $10,000 in cash, a new identity card, a household register, and even a change of clothes. She gave her bank card to Mama Chiu. You can spend the money however you want. I earned it all. But don't use your identities or transfer the money from this card to my new one. I'm sure I'll have a good life outside. Yes, yes. Is 3 years enough for you? You must come back to visit me in 3 years. Xiaoya nodded. She carried her backpack and hugged Mama Chiu's head before she left. Mama, don't bully Papa anymore. Mama Chiu slapped Xiaoya's butt and said, You little brat. You always favor your papa. I didn't bully him. He's the one who bullies me. Huh, okay. I'll let Mr. Chiu bully you more in the future. The family of 3 laughed as they went downstairs. Xiaoya did not drive, so Papa Chiu flagged down a taxi for her. Before they got into the car, Xiaoya said to Papa Chiu, Mr. Chiu, no man in this world can compare to your embrace. It's so comfortable to sleep in. Ask Mrs. Chiu to massage your legs. I'll leave you and your husband alone. Haha. There were many famous people in Clubhouse A, but Zhuang Yichen was not in the mood to socialize. He stayed by Xian Man's side. Xian Man was wearing an elegant gown with a V-neck. It made her look elegant. Zhuang Yichen's eyes never left her. Everyone knew that Xian Man was Zhuang Yifeng's wife. But the two of them appeared in Clubhouse A in such a high-profile manner. While they were talking and laughing, there was a murderous vibe in another place. A powerful novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 773. Zhuang Yifeng was completely overwhelmed by his rationality. Xian Man had betrayed him. Zhuang Yichen had kicked his wife away and snatched his woman away. The news that he received every day made him want to kill Zhuang Yichen immediately. Anyone who betrayed him must die. Zhuang Yichen, he should make his brother's life a living hell. Even if he wanted Zhuang Yichen to die, he should let the people he cared about die before he did. He must clearly see the pain in Zhuang Yichen's eyes. Zhuang Yichen had killed his mother and caused his father to go to jail. How could he not take revenge? Xian Man, no matter how much he loved her, had already betrayed him. Zhuang Yichen had protected her so well and didn't bring her to any dangerous places. But he wanted her dead. If Xian Man died, Zhuang Yichen would be heartbroken, right? Thinking of this, Zhuang Yifeng laughed wildly. He shouldn't have set his sights on Qiu Xiaoya. He was so stupid. From the first time he found out about the relationship between Qiu Xiaoya and Zhuang Yichen, he should have known. Zhuang Yichen wanted to push away Qiu Xiaoya's hand in front of Xian Man. At that time, he should have realized that Zhuang Yichen was afraid that Xian Man would be jealous. No wonder Qiu Xiaoya was beaten and chased out. She actually wanted to kill Xian Man's Sai. Qiu Xiaoya was too disappointing. She actually didn't suffocate that B** starved to death. Useless woman. Her man brought another woman into his house, but she didn't even have the ability to kill that B** starred. She deserved to be abandoned. She deserved it. He couldn't even be bothered to look at such a weakling, when Club A welcomed another VIP, Zhuang Yifeng, the rich businessmen who wanted to leave also pushed aside their business and shamelessly wanted to stay and watch the show. The drama of two brothers fighting over a woman must be very exciting. Zhuang Yichen couldn't wait for Zhuang Yifeng to come. He didn't want to waste another day. The schemes he had set up and manipulated in the past were too slow. A judicial process could take a few days, and it couldn't be decided in a short period of time. He had already lowered his requirements and didn't want to torture anyone. It was fine as long as Zhuang Yifeng died. Once Zhuang Yifeng died, there was nothing to worry about. When Li Yong heard that Zhuang Yifeng had also come, he couldn't help but tremble. He walked to the southeast direction of the clubhouse, clasped his hands together towards the sky, closed his eyes, and said in his heart, "Miss, you must bless him. You only have one seedling. I've taken care of him for so many years. At this time, you must help him and end his sleepless nights." The image of a young girl appeared in Li Yong's mind. He followed behind her, watching her try on the wedding dress and put on the wedding dress. He sighed in his heart. It was all in the past. Zhuang Yichen was in a well-ironed suit. Zhuang Yichen hugged Exian Man and chatted happily. "Exian Man, come here." Zhuang Yichen stood less than 2 meters away from Zhuang Yichen and lifted his chin at Exian Man. Zhuang Yichen smiled and hugged Exian Man even tighter. "Brother, Xiao Man doesn't want to go over. She's still my wife. Xiao Man said that she wants to divorce you and marry me." Zhuang Yichen turned his head and asked in a low voice, "Xiao Man, are you willing?" "Yichen." Exian Man's eyes were filled with tears. "Yichen, I'm willing." Zhuang Yichen's gaze on Exian Man became deeper and deeper. He was thinking, this woman had been with him for so many years. When had she ever been like this? Zhuang Yichen was indeed having an affair with her behind her back. No wonder Qiu and Xiaoye scolded Zhuang Yichen like that in the listening device in Li Yong's car. Indeed, this adulterous couple. Even Li Yong advised Qiu and Xiaoye to give in to Exian Man. "Exian Man, Exian Man, Zhuang Yichen, have treated you well. Divorce? Exian Man, can you afford it? With me around, no matter how expensive the marriage is, she can afford it." Zhuang Yichen arrogantly interrupted. Zhuang Yifeng approached step by step. Zhuang Yichen knew that everything was about to end. He wanted to end everything. Immediately. Immediately. Zhuang Yichen was actually already entangled in the lawsuit. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhuang Yichen had hidden Exian Man so well and suddenly let her out in such a high-profile place to be intimate with her, he wouldn't have come out himself. He would have asked his subordinates to kill Exian Man and let Zhuang Yichen suffer. But this was the main area of this place. Other than him, no one else could enter. In such a short period of time, he couldn't create a billionaire identity for an assassin, but he wouldn't let go of such an opportunity. Since the assassins in the main area couldn't enter, then he would do it himself. If he continued to listen to his informant talking about how Zhuang Yichen doted on Exian Man, even if he didn't die, he would go crazy from anger. He actually realized that his mental state had been very bad recently. A man's jealousy and possessiveness would always have no bottom line. Just like when Zhuang Yichen pulled out the gun and aimed it at Exian Man. A quick and accurate shot hit Exian Man's chest. Exian Man looked at Zhuang Yichen in disbelief. Her eyes widened. She couldn't believe that a gunshot would happen in such a place. She was too confident and thought that even if Zhuang Yichen wanted to kill her, he wouldn't do it himself. So when she stood beside Zhuang Yichen, she wasn't afraid at all. Who would have thought that Zhuang Yichen would kill a woman in such a place with so many rich people? But Zhuang Yichen knew that Zhuang Yichen would definitely do it. All of Zhuang Yichen's ideals and revenge was to make him suffer, to make him live in pain for the rest of his life. So when he rushed towards Exian Man with a dagger to cut the rope, Zhuang Yichen shot at Exian Man himself. What did he mean by, if he couldn't save someone in 10 seconds, they would have to eat bullets? He wasn't sure if those who couldn't be saved in 10 seconds would have to eat bullets. But those who could be saved in 10 seconds would definitely have to eat bullets. He was 10,000% sure. Zhuang Yichen was suspicious and jealous by nature. Those conditions and requests were just empty words. Zhuang Yichen had always been a person who didn't keep his promises. Gunshots rang out, followed by screams and the sound of people fleeing. When Zhuang Yichen heard Enchanting Man calling for him, he didn't turn back. It was as if he didn't want to leave. He just locked his cold gaze on Zhuang Yichen. As if he had already seen the steps clearly, he turned sideways to avoid Zhuang Yichen's gun. His movements were fast and ruthless. He didn't kick Zhuang Yichen's hand, nor did he chop Zhuang Yichen's wrist with his hand. He had such skills, but he didn't do it. Instead, he grabbed Zhuang Yichen's wrist and let the gun swing around, pointing it in his direction from time to time. Some daring people had already taken out their phones to record a video. They were all worried for Zhuang Yichen. They felt that the gun had no eyes. If it accidentally fired, it could blow up Zhuang Yichen's head and cause his brain to splatter everywhere. Others thought that there were no cameras here, but Zhuang Yichen knew that there would definitely be cameras in the position he was facing. His camera of the unparalleled beauty was also hidden very well. Zhuang Yichen's intention to kill Zhuang Yichen was very obvious. The bullet whizzed past Zhuang Yichen's ears and shattered the wine cabinet behind him. The glass shattered, and the floor was covered with glass shards. However, no one dodged. Zhuang Yichen put himself in a dead end. His finger was stuck on the trigger so that he couldn't pull it, but he kept swinging the gun towards his head. Enchanting Man had already fallen to the ground. Blood stained her lotus-colored dress. Someone called the police and an ambulance, but no one dared to help her. They were afraid that they would be accidentally injured by the bullet. The club's security rushed over. Li Yong heard the gunshot again in the secondary area. He stood in the middle of the main area and the secondary area, where he couldn't get close to. He knelt on the ground with tears rolling down his face. He looked up and shouted sadly, "Miss." Zhuang Yichen pressed on the trigger tightly and leaned against the wine cabinet. Zhuang Yichen once again aimed the gun at Zhuang Yichen's chest. Just when everyone thought that Zhuang Yichen was dead, the gun turned around in an instant. Zhuang Yichen's left chest was shot precisely where his heart was. Although Zhuang Yifeng had already been shot, blood suddenly spurted out and stained Zhuang Yichen's suit and shirt. After a moment of shock, he smiled provocatively and said, "Zhuang Yichen, you can live in pain. Enchanting Man probably won't be able to survive." Zhuang Yichen chopped off the gun that was still in Zhuang Yifeng's hand. He leaned his head forward and whispered into Zhuang Yifeng's ear, "Enchanting Man is your wife. Of course, she should accompany you. My woman is unharmed now." Zhuang Yichen smiled mysteriously. Zhuang Yichen's body, which could barely stand, suddenly shook. He staggered back a few steps and covered his chest that was spurting blood like a fountain. He raised his other hand and pointed at Zhuang Yichen. "You tricked me." Zhuang Yichen refused to admit it. Until now, he still refused to admit it. Not only did he hear everything that happened in Zhuang Yichen's residence every day, but he also had someone reporting to him. How could he be wrong? There were no less than 3 spies in the villa. How could Zhuang Yichen escape his eyes? That day, when the assassin aimed at Enchanting Man, he clearly saw Zhuang Yichen push Enchanting Man down and leave Qiu Shaoya at the side. He heard with his own ears that Zhuang Yichen hit Qiu Shaoya for Enchanting Man. He heard with his own ears that Qiu Shaoya smashed things and scolded Zhuang Yichen as a bastard. He even heard Li Yong sending Qiu Shaoya to get her divorce certificate. At the Civil Affairs Bureau, his men followed Qiu Shaoya. He also said that even at the Civil Affairs Bureau, Li Yong advised Qiu Shaoya to treat Enchanting Man better and not be too calculative. After all, Enchanting Man and Zhuang Yichen had been together for many years. How could he be wrong? Qiu Shaoya clearly looked like she was really dumped. His men said that when Qiu Shaoya came out of Qingfeng Garden, she was as thin as a ghost. Her hair was messy and her face was dirty. Her eyes were swollen and bruised. She even asked him if he wanted to get rid of Qiu Shaoya. A woman who was tortured by Zhuang Yichen to such a state should be his friend. How could he get rid of her? Zhuang Yichen must be lying to him. He looked at Zhuang Yichen's cold lips and shook his head. I don't believe you. Zhuang Yichen, I don't believe you. You installed more than 30 listening devices in my house and every car. You even asked so many people to follow Uncle Li. If I didn't do that, how could I repay your kindness? Zhuang Yichen, you've been playing with me since it rained that night. Huh, do you think I don't know you? Even if you wanted me to die, you would kill the most important person to me before I die. Uncle Li, you won't succeed so easily. He guards against you like he's guarding against a wolf. He always has a high sense of safety. Zhuang Yichen patted his sleeves. Forget it, I'll call an ambulance for your wife. Isn't it better if she can't be saved? Then you won't be lonely. Beauty novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 774. Xian Man fell to the ground and had no strength to stand up. When she heard Zhuang Yichen's words, her blood started to flow faster. Zhuang Yichen, you used me. Sigh. Zhuang Yichen shook his head and looked disdainfully at the woman on the ground. He didn't even want to bend down to look at her. Sister-in-law, I'm a clean freak. I won't want a woman who has been slept with by someone else. I didn't hate you at first, but I've been hugging you all this time. It's making me hate you. But fortunately, you're here. Otherwise, I don't know when the woman lying on the ground would be my little demon. Heh, it's finally over. Xian Man's body twitched violently. She already had a gunshot wound, so she started to vomit blood. Zhuang Yichen didn't want to pay any more attention to her. He had to leave quickly. But just as he took a step, the security guards arrived. They hoped that he wouldn't leave for the time being and wait for the police to arrive. After all, he was the victim. When the police arrived, Zhuang Yichen was asked to give a statement. Zhuang Yichen had no choice but to cooperate. Zhuang Yichen, now that Zhuang Yifeng was shot in the exact location of his heart, he died. You're responsible for it. A young policeman with a strong sense of justice asked without caring about anything else. I was acting in self-defense. Everyone at the scene saw it. Zhuang Yifeng shot his wife and aimed at me. Of course, I couldn't let myself get hurt. You could have aimed at his heart in self-defense? Aimed? Zhuang Yichen shrugged and pretended to be shocked. Officer, I was scared to death at that time, but I still had the mood to aim. Everyone was moving around. It was purely an accident. I only thought of self-defense and didn't think of anything else. Your self-defense caused the other party's death. That's excessive self-defense. Officer, I deserve to be blamed for the bullet that entered my head? I gave him a push and loosened my grip. He pulled the trigger himself and accidentally killed himself. Am I considered excessive self-defense? When my life was hanging by a thread, I had to choose a place to push the muzzle of the gun. I think you should be glad that he didn't accidentally aim his gun at anyone else in the clubhouse when he hurt me, right? I still have other matters to attend to. If my defense is excessive, you can come and look for me at any time. That's all I know. You can go and get the video from the club. There are many people at the scene who took videos with their phones. I don't mind you trying the case in public. I'd like to see if anyone will come and crusade against you when you say that my defense is excessive. Zhuang Yichen was not in the mood to waste time in the police station. Anyway, he was not afraid if they really investigated. The person recording Zhuang Yichen's statement could clearly sense Zhuang Yichen's impatience. An experienced police officer nudged the rash police officer and told him not to ask any more questions. All he could do was to sort out the evidence first before contacting him. When Zhuang Yichen came out of the police station, Li Yong's car was already waiting at the entrance of the police station. Seeing him get into the car, she smiled and said, "You're not hurt at all." "That's great. Uncle Li, you're worried." Zhuang Yichen picked up the clothes in the car and changed out of the dirty clothes he was wearing. He drove the car to a trash can and threw the dirty clothes in. "I knew Miss wanted to protect you." Uncle Li, you keep calling my mother Miss and me young master. You're messing up the seniority. Zhuang Yichen shook his head and smiled. When she got married, I always called her Mississippi. When she gave birth to you, I called you young master. Now that you're all grown up, I can't keep calling you young master, right? Yes, you're right. Uncle Li, you can call me whatever you want. Let's go to Qingfeng Garden. Zhuang Yichen sighed. Young master, I didn't have time to tell you today. Young madam went back to her parents' home. How is she? Li Yong sighed. The subordinate said that she's so thin that she's out of shape. Let's go to my mother-in-law's house. Zhuang Yichen reached out to the gap next to the seat. He pulled out a small fingernail-sized listening device and held it in his hand. He pointed it at the rearview mirror and said to Li Yong, "Have all the cars in the house been checked?" Li Yong shook his head. Around 30 listening devices is a conservative estimate. After Enchanting Man moved into the house, there were more than one listening device in every room. I think there are at least 3 listening devices in the study. Zhuang Yichen sighed and rolled down the car window. He threw the listening device out and closed the window. He raised his head and leaned against the pillow. Uncle Li, when you see Xiaoyao later, help me talk to her. I just sorted out my thoughts. In front of her, it's easy for my ability to express myself. I'm afraid I'll say something wrong. Li Yong looked at Zhuang Yichen and comforted him, young madam will understand. The house is full of listening devices and there are spies everywhere. Even you and I have to rely on our tacit understanding to deal with them. There's no other way. Zhuang Yichen suddenly closed his eyes and put his hand on his forehead. Uncle Li, I'm too greedy. Too greedy. That day, when I saw Xiaoyao destroy the clothes, bedsheets, and photos, I was thinking that I was too greedy. I wanted to make Zhuang Yifeng's life worse than death. Zhuang Yifeng also wanted to make my life worse than death. He thought that death was too easy, too easy. But Uncle Li, I didn't want it to be like this, but my mother was in so much pain back then. Zhuang Yichen panted and tried to calm himself down. Zhuang Yifeng was so vicious at such a young age. He made my mother amputate her leg. Zhuang Yichen gritted his teeth. I really hate him. But, recently, I realized that I shouldn't have done this. I should have killed him earlier. If he was dead, there wouldn't have been so many problems. For the sake of a process, I got such an outcome. Say, if Zhuang Yifeng hadn't hung Enchanting Man up that night out of suspicion, would Xiaoyao still have a chance to live? I've hidden her for more than 4 years. More than 4 years, but I almost killed her. It was not until now that Zhuang Yichen's hands began to tremble by his side. In the past few years, he had exposed countless women, but he had never exposed Xiaoya. He often changed women to eat with, but he had never eaten with Xiaoya. Even when it came to making her famous, he had secretly arranged for someone to do it. He had never shown his face. However, getting married almost killed her. Zhuang Yifeng wasn't a small luoluo. How could he fight? It took a long time to prepare a large pile of evidence. He had to start a court session, adjourn the court, find a lawyer, and repeat the process. Besides, Zhuang Yifeng's evidence wasn't as easy to find as Zhuang Jingren's. In the past, Zhuang Jingren had taken the blame for many things. He should have done what he did today and just killed him to end everything. Young master, don't think too much. When we see young madam later, I'll explain it to her. She will definitely understand you. Uncle Li, let's go to the mall. Xiaoyao likes beautiful shoes. I'll pick a pair for her. When the shoes were thrown down the stairs by Mother Chiu, Zhuang Yichen finally faced the fear that he didn't dare to think about. He raised his hand and knocked on the door. Mom, can you open the door and let me talk to Xiaoya? Get out. Get as far away as you can. Our boss doesn't care about scum like you. Mother Chiu yelled at Zhuang Yichen through the door in her loud voice. Zhuang Yichen wasn't a talkative person. Faced with Mother Chiu's yelling, he could only stand outside the door. After a while, he knocked on the door again but didn't say anything. He knocked on the door intermittently until 1:00 in the morning. Mother Chiu finally wanted to tear down the house because of Zhuang Yichen. She opened the door with a broom and aimed it at Zhuang Yichen's handsome face. Zhuang Yichen raised his hand to block it. When he saw that the person who hit him was Mother Chiu, he was stunned and did not dare to fight back. Li Yong anxiously apologized and acted like a good person. He held Mother Chiu's hand and said, In-law, calm down. Can you let the children talk about it themselves? What do you mean by that? Who are the children? I only have one child, and that's Xiaoya Chiu. How can a man like him have a child? Mother Chiu felt stifled. She felt terrible, especially after Xiaoya left. She felt stifled. Xiaoya already knew that one day, Zhuang Yichen would come looking for her on a whim. That was why she left so cleanly and didn't even contact her family. Her daughter, who had been with her for more than 20 years, didn't even call her family because of a man like him. Thinking about how her daughter committed suicide because of Kang Yiyun, Mother Chiu didn't even dare to close her eyes. She couldn't even eat. If her husband hadn't comforted her all day long, she would have been the one committing suicide. She held the broom in her hand and lowered her head to bite Li Yong's hand. Mama Chiu had always been a tough woman. She had the final say in the family. Papa Chiu had always listened to her from the time they started dating until they got married. She was the queen of the family. She had always had a bad temper. Moreover, they didn't live in a high-class society. The people she interacted with were all gossipy women. Everyone would gossip when they were together. She was never afraid of quarreling. She had always been a shrew. Therefore, biting Li Yong's hand was a smooth task. Now that she was free, she swung the broom again and hit Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen only covered his face. He didn't say anything about the other parts of his body being hit. Mom, you can hit me however you want. Let me go in and talk to Xiaoyao. In your dreams. Zhuang Yichen could only be polite and respectful to this extent. He had been hit for so long. He was afraid that Mother Chiu would close the door if she stopped hitting him. He simply grabbed Mother Chiu's shoulder and lifted her to the side. Mother Chiu was shocked by Zhuang Yichen's strength. She was already a little fat, so Zhuang Yichen could be said to have lifted her by the shoulder. 1903 p. While she was still in a daze, Zhuang Yichen had already entered the house. Xiaoya's slippers were still at the door. When he came to pick up the bride during the wedding, he knew that the room facing the south belonged to Xiaoya. Even though Xiaoya was married, Mother Chiu couldn't bear to use this room to live in. She wanted to leave it empty for Xiaoya. He strode towards the room facing the south. Mother Chiu couldn't stop him. The door was pushed open by Zhuang Yichen hurriedly. The smile on his face froze. Nothing in the room had changed. When returning home after marriage, they followed the old tradition. They even stayed here for a night. When he woke up the next day, Mother Chiu cleaned up the room. Before he left, he went into the room to take his watch. No one had lived in this room before. The blanket was folded on the bed, but a large piece of colorful cloth covered the blanket and the entire bed to prevent dust. No one had lived in this room before. There was a smell that hadn't been in for a long time. When he breathed in, it was very bitter. Mom, where is Xiaoya? Zhuang Yichen turned around and stared blankly at Mrs. Chiu and Mr. Chiu, who were walking toward him fiercely. Beauty novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 775. You're asking me where she is? Xiu Yichen's mother picked up a stool and threw it at Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen stood where he was and barely caught the stool with his shoulder. Li Yong shouted, "Young master!" When he rushed over, it was already too late. Zhuang Yichen grunted but did not dodge. His eyes were bloodshot. Mom, where did Xiaoya go? I don't know. Xiu Yichen's mother, Wah. She sat down on the ground like a shrew who had just finished a quarrel. However, the tears in her voice were not the killer move of a shrew. Instead, they were unconcealable sorrowful cries. I don't know. Where did my boss go? She won't tell me. Xiao Yichen's mother's sorrowful voice echoed in the house. It was as if she had lost a loved one. She did not want to cry like this, but where did her daughter go? Where was she? Was it safe to carry the money with her? Would she meet bad people? All these questions made it difficult for her to control herself. Zhuang Yichen was frightened by Qiu Yichen's mother's cries. He was extremely flustered. From what he could tell, this was not an act. It was as if all the cells in her body were being torn apart. He felt as if all the cells in his body were being torn apart. Leave. You're not welcome in our house. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. Qiu Yichen's father was never one to argue. He wiped away Qiu Yichen's mother's tears as he yelled at Zhuang Yichen. When Zhuang Yichen went downstairs, the pair of shoes had already been picked up by someone. It made sense. Xiaoya had always liked gorgeous shoes. A pair of shoes cost tens of thousands of yuan. If they were left downstairs, people who didn't know how to appreciate them wouldn't be able to resist taking them home. Zhuang Yichen had been suppressing his anger and could not find a place to vent it. He walked onto the lawn. No matter how far away it was from Qiu Yichen's parents' house, he would go into search. Young master, stop looking. Someone must have picked them up. Uncle Li, you go back first. I'll look for a while more. You know that Xiao Yao likes shoes very much. I don't know what my taste is like. Maybe she won't like it. She has always been picky about what she wears. Zhuang Yichen kept his head down. He did not miss a single detail. The neighborhood was not big, and the lawn was not big either. There were only 6 small lawns and 4 small flower beds. The road was narrow, and some cars were parked between the road and the grass. After finding the grass, Zhuang Yichen started to check the undercarriage of the cars. Li Yong followed behind without saying a word. Young master, young madam might have gone out to relax. She'll be back in a few days. When she's back, I'll have a good talk with her. Zhuang Yichen did not say a word. He focused on what he was doing. Every time he finished looking for a car, he would stand up and look at the sky before continuing. He started to hate the small size of the neighborhood. Soon, he had searched through the entire neighborhood. Although it was early spring, the night was still cold. Li Yong found a flashlight. The light from the flashlight was surrounded by clouds of fog, but the cold air did not freeze Zhuang Yichen. Instead, he was sweating because of his constant walking. The sky was already bright. He searched twice but still could not find the pair of shoes. The new spring design was a flirtatious red. The heels were 9 centimeters. Xiaoya had always liked high heels. She had only worn some of them once or twice. The sky brightened, reminding Zhuang Yichen that the night had been fruitless. He hated this kind of hint. He finally lost his temper and yelled at Li Yong, "Go check the CCTV. I'll find the shoes even if I have to dig 3 feet into the ground." Li Yong immediately turned off the flashlight and went to the security room. He knew that the pair of shoes was not the only thing the young master was looking for. There was also the young mistress. She took her current identity card and looked at it several times. It was Zhang Xiaoyu. She liked this name and asked her mother to change it. It was said that a fish's memory only lasted for a few seconds. She knew that she would soon turn Zhuang Yichen into Kang Yun and forget about the man who hurt her. In her life, men might just be a scenery. Qing County was a small county in the south. The population density was moderate. Xiaoyu rented a fully renovated 3-bedroom apartment for only 500 yuan. Compared to the housing prices in the county, she felt that it was a good deal to rent a place like this. The cost of living was not low, and the housing prices were not low. However, the rental price was very cheap. Xiaoyu had never thought about how to survive in a place like this. However, she was soon overwhelmed by the renovations upstairs, downstairs, left and right. What was worse was that the renovations upstairs were still going on at night. She could not help but admire the overall quality of the people in Qing County. Although she saw Zhuang Yichen whenever she closed her eyes, she still needed to be quiet. So she put on her slippers and went upstairs to reason with him. When the door opened, it was a fat lady in her 40s. She had a gold chain around her neck, a gold chain around her wrist, and a gold ring on her finger. Her earrings had already stretched out her earlobes. "Who are you looking for?" the fat lady in gold asked in an unfriendly manner. "Hello, madam." Xiaoyu was a very polite person outside. She had done business before, so her attitude and tone were impeccable. The fat lady's cold face immediately broke into a smile. "Who are you looking for?" "Madam, I live downstairs. The renovation of your house is giving me a headache. Can you move the renovation to the day?" Just as she smiled, the fat lady immediately became unhappy. "I'm not free during the day. If these guys aren't supervising the work, they're dawdling. I'm paying them by the day. If other houses have people guarding them, they would have moved in long ago. My house has been doing the curtain holes for 10 days. Xiaoyu sighed. She knew that it was useless to argue with people in a small county. She had lived in a small county when she was young. She could not complain about everything. "Why don't we do it this way? I'll help you supervise tomorrow. You don't have to renovate at night." The fat lady was a little suspicious of Xiaoyu's intentions. "You?" Xiaoyu smiled. "You don't have any valuable items in your house. Are you afraid that I'll remove your tiles one by one? I'm afraid your renovation team won't agree to it, right? You don't look like someone who's greedy for petty gains. I don't like to take advantage of people either. If you supervise me, I'll give you $100 a day. However, you have to help me monitor the quality and ask them to finish as soon as possible." Xiaoyu did not expect to meet such a generous person. She was overjoyed. "Deal. My surname is Jean. You can call me Sister Jean." Xiaoyu was stunned for a moment. She really liked Jean. She smiled and extended her hand. "Sister Jean." The two of them shook hands, one fat and one thin. Xiaoyu had bought a sewing machine while she was supervising the construction. After looking at the renovation drawings of Sister Jin's house, she had bought some fabric from the internet. Upstairs, the electric drill made a puff, puff, puff sound. Downstairs, her sewing machine also made a puff, puff, puff sound. That way, she would not find the noise downstairs annoying. Every once in a while, she would go upstairs. When the renovation upstairs was completed, Xiaoyu gave the curtains that he had made to Sister Jean. The main curtain was luxurious and the fabric in the small room was different according to the color of the renovation. There was a warm and small room, and there was also a beautiful and dreamy one. Sister Jean was so happy that she could not close her mouth. "Oh my God, these are the best curtains I've ever seen. They're as beautiful as the curtains in the houses of the millionaires on TV. They've improved my taste in the house. Xiaoyu, I have to pay you for this. How can we make such curtains here? Look, you've prepared one for me in every room." No, I have to pay you," Sister Jean said as she rummaged through her handbag. When Xiaoyu saw that Sister Jean liked the curtains, he ran his fingers through his hair and held on to Sister Jin's arm. "Sister Jean, this is just a token of my appreciation for your housewarming. It's really free. If you really think that I've done a good job, please introduce some clients to me. But as you can see, the fabric and quality of my curtains are different from the ones outside. The cheaper ones outside." Xiaoyu scratched his head awkwardly. Sister Jean patted the hand on her arm and pursed her lips, causing the flesh on her chin to show. Do you think that Sister Jean doesn't know what's good for her? I'll introduce some clients to you tomorrow. I'll take pictures of the samples at home and show them off tomorrow. If they want cheap goods, I'll get them to buy them from the market. How can they be worthy of Xiaoyu's curtains? After Xiao Yu and Aunt Jean made friends, the clients came to them one by one. Although the curtains were very expensive, there was still a market for them. It was just 2 pieces of cloth, but through Xiao Yu's hands, they could produce a different effect. She was willing to use cloth, buy good accessories, and choose the fabric beforehand. Moreover, her curtains were decorated in the same style as the clients' homes. Sometimes, she was even responsible for matching the decorations and hanging the paintings in the clients' homes. Therefore, even though Xiao Yu's curtains were expensive, there were still people waiting in line for her. She was still waiting. Sister Jean suggested that Xiao Yu open a shop and hire a few more people so that she would not be too tired. However, Xiao Yu refused. Initially, she wanted to go out and find something to do. But now, she realized that it was better not to open a shop and she could make a lot of money. Sister Jean saw that Xiao Yu was single and she was good-looking, not to mention her temperament. Hence, she wanted to find a boyfriend for her. However, the businessmen in her circle were either as old as her or as fat as her. She always felt that such people were not worthy of Xiao Yu. On this day, Sister Jean introduced another client to Xiao Yu. It was the home of a 70-year-old lady. Sister Jean said that money was not a problem. The important thing was that the old lady had a strange temper. Xiao Yu would not refuse to do business with money. Moreover, the people that Sister Jean introduced had always been reliable. Hence, she went to see the style of the house. The doorbell rang. The person who opened the door was probably the housekeeper. The housekeeper was dressed very well and looked like a housekeeper who had lived in a big city. She also spoke very modestly and did not seem like someone from a small town. Miss Jiang? Hello, is Granny Su home? The young master came back from the provincial capital to visit Granny Su yesterday. The 2 of them went hiking early in the morning and will only be back after a while. Come in. Granny Su said that you can do whatever you want after seeing the style of the house. Okay. Xiao Yu took off her shoes at the door and changed into the slippers that the housekeeper handed to her before entering the house. Beauty novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 776. Xiao Yu entered the room and asked about the old lady's preferences. She took out a small tape measure and asked the nanny to help her take the measurements. Miss Jiang, you're really good at cooking. It's rare to see a young lady as beautiful as you, the nanny said as she chatted with Xiao Yu. I'm just making ends meet. There's nothing good about it, Xiao Yu replied modestly with a smile. The nanny shook her head. That's not the case. Mrs. Jean was a picky person. She would tell everyone that you're good at cooking and that you're a good person. You're not like those girls nowadays who are so impetuous. Let me see, you do look like one of them. Xiao Yu thought to himself, that was when I was impatient. Sister Jean just didn't see it. At her age, she has experienced 2 life and death relationships. How can she still be impatient? Her heart is probably as calm as still water. Sister Jean is a little biased towards me. Naturally, she would have her own feelings. It's just a little exaggerated. It was a little tiring to talk to this 40-year-old nanny. The nanny spoke in an old-fashioned tone. Xiao Yu wondered what kind of master had taught her to speak in such a tone. There were not many curtains in the house with 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms. Xiao Yu took the measurements very quickly and wrote down the measurements of all the windows in her notebook. She then took out her phone and asked the nanny, Auntie, I'm just taking photos out of habit. I'll go home and see how I match the colors. Does Granny Su mind? It's okay. The old lady said that the person recommended by Mrs. Jean must be reliable. If you want to take photos, just take them. Just don't take them in front of the old man's portrait. Xiao Yu had already seen the black and white photo hanging in the middle of the living room. There was even an incense burner table. There was not a single speck of dust on it. It was obvious that they had taken good care of it. She was not interested in those things at all. I won't. Don't worry, Auntie. After taking the photos in the living room, Xiao Yu went to the bedroom. She had always been very serious when it came to fabrics. In the past, she used to make custom-made clothes. Now that she was using custom-made curtains, she felt that they were all the same. Jian quickly passed the dishes to Xiaoyu. It's time to make lunch. Okay, Grandma, take a rest. After taking the last photo, Xiaoyu walked out of the house and saw an old lady with her hair tied up in a bun. She was drinking from a very old teacup. There were a lot of old things in the house, so she was not surprised at all. At first glance, it was obvious that it was something with commemorative significance. Seeing how respectful the housekeeper was to the old lady, Xiaoyu bowed slightly at the old lady. Granny Su, you're back. You're Xiaoyu, right? The old lady asked as she handed the teacup to the housekeeper. Yes, it's me. The old lady looked very tired, but she was in good spirits. She was in her 70s, but her back was still straight and her legs were not trembling. She walked to the sofa in the living room and sat down. Mrs. Jean told me that Xiaoyu is such an intelligent girl. I didn't believe her at first. Now that I see her, she's really young, good at cooking, and polite, the old lady said to Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu was a little embarrassed by the old lady's praise. In the past, no old lady had ever praised her in such a way. She was only polite to her own clients. However, now that she had let go of everything, she felt that she should not be impulsive. It was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Xiaoyu did not know if she respected other people or not. A man walked out of the kitchen. It was not that Xiaoyu wanted to look at him, but she had never seen a man with such a temperament in this county. He was wearing a sports shirt and looked very casual. His facial features were bright and handsome, but his face was gentle and noble. His height made him look like a crane in a flock of chickens. Do you have a guest? The man asked as he looked at Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu smiled back at him and nodded. Have you had lunch? The old lady asked Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu turned around and put his phone into the bag. Yes, I have, Grandma. The old lady pursed her lips and snorted. It's hard to lie to an old lady like me. It's only 11:15. You should have come to my house at around 10:30. Did you have lunch at 10:30? Having her lie exposed in front of everyone, Xiaoyu was instantly embarrassed. She thought that the other party was only asking out of politeness. Wasn't the most common question asked by Chinese people the same question as, have you eaten yet? If she said that she had not eaten, the old lady would be forced to ask her to stay for lunch. Moreover, she did not like the feeling of being in a crowded place. It was quite nice to be alone. Grandma, you're too direct. You've scared this young lady, the man said to the old lady with an amused look on Xiaoyu's face. Grandma, you're too direct. You've scared this young lady. It's none of your business. The old lady glared at the man. Su Jian, don't think that you can judge me just because you live in a big city. You're not allowing me to speak the truth, are you? It's only because your grandfather is no longer around. If he were around, would he allow you to bully me like this? As the old lady spoke, her eyes started to redden. Xiaoyu felt a headache coming on. At the end of the day, she was the one who was at fault. Su Jian hurriedly walked to the portrait in the hall, put his hands together, bowed, and muttered, Grandpa, your grandson is unfilial and offended Grandma again. Please don't blame me. Your grandson promises that he will never bully your wife again. Your wife is right. She will always be right. The old lady finally smiled. It's good that you know to admit your mistake. Xiaoyu, hurry up and cook some food for Xiaoyu. This Xiaoyu? Fish food. How could Xiaoyu stand an old lady who was so enthusiastic about her first meeting? Moreover, Jean had said that the old lady had a strange temper. If she said something wrong for no reason later, was she supposed to pay her respects to the portrait? For a moment, she was at a loss and did not know where to go. Huh? Grandma, there's no need for that. Are you complaining that our dishes are not good enough? Then I'll deduct Xiaoyu's salary. The old lady even snorted after saying that. Look at her temper. What did she mean by complaining that the dishes were not good enough? Xiao Yu had never eaten here before. How would she know if the dishes were good or not? The housekeeper shouted from the kitchen, "Old madam, in all honesty, which meal is not good enough?" Su Jian walked over and patted Xiao Yu on the shoulder. Eat here. Aunt Yu's dishes are really good. Then, he walked past the old lady. Grandma, I'm going to take a shower. I'm all sweaty. The old lady smiled but said, You only know how to waste water. Xiao Yu's ability to express herself was not as good as before. Perhaps it was because she was deliberately not willing to talk too much. Jean was the only person who talked to her the most. At the table, she only ate some vegetables and took small bites of rice. When she ate with Zhuang Yichen, his movements were always not very elegant. She would always restrain herself. In just a few months, it had become a habit. The old lady looked at the way Xiao Yu ate and then looked at Su Jian. They were both people who did not talk when eating. She smiled to herself. After Xiao Yu finished her meal, she helped the housekeeper clear the dishes. She felt that it was not right to leave after having a meal at someone else's house. She was not even close to them. After cleaning up, Xiao Yu said goodbye to the old lady. Jian, send Xiao Yu out, the old lady ordered. Oh, okay. Su Jian stood up. He had already changed into another set of casual clothes. His clothes seemed to be light-colored. Xiao Yu remembered Zhuang Yichen's solemnity and Su Jian's cheerfulness. Xiao Yu knew that she could not refuse. However, she still said, Grandma, it's really not necessary. I rode my bicycle here. Oh, so you're saying that you're looking down on my bicycle? Don't force me. When the time comes, I'll ask my grandson to drive his $10 million bicycle back. Xiao Yu knew that this old lady was someone who could not be disobeyed. If you resisted her decision even a little, she would stab you to death. In the end, Su Jian put Xiao Yu's bicycle in the trunk and drove her home. Xiao Yu, you're not from Qing County, right? Yes, I'm not from here. How long have you been in Qing County? Less than a month. Xiao Yu did not care. Grandma said that your curtains are very good. She asked me to introduce you to some businesses. The tourism industry in Qing County is developing very well. There are a few 5-star hotels. Why don't I introduce you to some hotels and you can hire a few workers to make the curtains in the hotels? Xiao Yu shook her head without hesitation. She was afraid that she would be too idle. I don't want to hire workers. I can do it myself. Why don't you do it when there's money to be made? I don't want to make so much money. The money I've earned now is enough to spend. If it's stable, I can save a lot of money in a year. I don't want to do big businesses. I want to live a simple life. It's quite comfortable. She could not bear to look back on her luxurious past. Those shoes that cost tens of thousands and clothes that cost hundreds of thousands only reminded her of a man called Zhuang Yichen. Her expensive past was inseparable from money. In fact, a pair of shoes that cost $100 had the same function as a pair of shoes that cost tens of thousands. She did not want to fight for those expensive things anymore. She had once climbed into Zhuang Yichen's bed because she wanted Kang Yun to see her success. Now, she did not want anyone to see it. In the future, she wanted to live a normal life. She would save some money every year, buy a small house, marry an ordinary man, have children, and live a normal life. Her father used to be an ordinary worker. In fact, now that she thought about it, her mother was very happy. Although her man was not rich, he had doted on her for her entire life. Su Jian held the steering wheel and tilted his head slightly. He saw Xiao Yu's eyes looking forward in a daze. Her hands were holding the seatbelt in front of her chest very, very tightly. The next day, Xiao Yu's doorbell rang. It was Su Jian. Am I bothering you? When Su Jian smiled, it was as gentle as jade. Xiao Yu smiled back. The curtains won't be ready so soon. It'll take about 5 days. I'll send it to Grandma Sue when it's done. Grandma asked me to bring a jade to Miss Jean and ask her jewelry shop to make a chain for it. She's not around. I called her and she asked me to wait for her at your house. Is it convenient? Come in. Xiao Yu opened the door. Beauty novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 777. Xiao Yu poured a glass of water for Su Zhiyan, then sat in front of the sewing machine and focused on making the curtains for her client. Su Zhiyan didn't say much. He sat quietly on the sofa and listened to the tap 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 sound coming from the room. Things like mobile phones were very useful at this time. They could go online and check Weibo. Xiao Yu only stopped working when someone knocked on the door and went to open it. It was Jean who greeted her with a bright smile. Xiao Yu, is young Master Yan here? Yes. In a place like the county, it felt like flattery to hear someone call him young master. However, Xiao Yu did not say it out loud. Jin's laughter was as big as her belly. She shouted at the top of her lungs, young Master Yan. Jean. Su Zhiyan stood up and walked into the hall. Grandma asked me to come and look for you. I know. Jean opened a gold shop. As a businesswoman, she welcomed guests from all over the world with a smile. Even if it was just a small chain, she was as affectionate as she was when she saw Su Zhiyan. Su Zhiyan took out the small box and handed it to Jean without opening it. Jean opened the box and picked up the peach-shaped jade pendant. She looked at it under the light and exclaimed, "It's a high-quality emerald of the glass species." Su Zhiyan said calmly, "I'm not too sure. Anyway, she asked me to trouble you to make a chain for it." Okay. By the way, have you had dinner? Before the two of them could say anything, Jean immediately said, "Let's go and eat." I'm starving. Xiao Yu wanted to decline again, but Jean glared at her and said, "You're just a lazy bum. Do you want to eat instant noodles to solve your problems? Don't think that you can ruin your body just because you're young and beautiful. When you're old and fall sick, you won't be able to treat it even if you want to." Yes, Xiao Yu. Let's go and eat together. You help my grandma make the curtains and Jean help my grandma make the chain. This meal is on me. If you refuse, I'll lose face. When Su Zhiyan said the last sentence, he smiled faintly and shrugged his shoulders slightly. He seemed to have expected Xiao Yu to reject him, so he said the last sentence. Winter in Sea City was always longer. Even in early spring, it was still warm and cold. Zhuang Yichen was sitting cross-legged on the bed in his bedroom. He was holding a pile of notes in his hand and reading them one by one. There were bank statements, call records from mobile phone, passenger records from the airport, and passenger records from Bus D. She wanted to find a passenger named Qiu Xiaoya from those records, but she couldn't find it. Every day, he would spend a lot of time looking through these things, even if his subordinates had already gone through them. He was afraid that there would be traces of Xiaoya contacting her friends and family, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find any. He threw away a large pile of notes and printed slips, kicking them all over the place. Then, he collapsed. The bedding under her was bright red, with a thick layer of lotus leaves and lace. It was a luxurious European-style palace. This set of bedding was made by Xiaoya herself. He spread out his hands and touched the bedding with his fingertips. Although it was mended, he could still feel the traces. No matter how exquisite the mending was, it couldn't be turned back into something exactly the same. He didn't know that she would be so ruthless as to cut off all the ties between the two of them in the past. She had even deleted all the wedding photos on his computer. His throat rolled, and he quickly closed his eyes. He let out a shaky breath, and then let out a long, shaky breath. There was a pair of fiery red high heels on the bed. He felt the shoes with his eyes closed. That day, he found the shoes. Through the surveillance camera, the security guard, and the neighbor's testimony, he found the occupant. A pair of shoes that had been left outside could be picked up by anyone, but that person didn't want to return them. Uncle Lee thought that he would spend money to buy them back. Why would he spend money to buy them back? Those were his things. He bought them for his woman. Did other people want to wear them? That depended on whether they had the ability or not. He made everyone in that household lose their jobs within an hour. He stood in front of their door for an hour, making calls, checking the occupants, and checking the company. He found the shoes that he had bought for her. But he couldn't find the owner of the shoes. He collected the leftover fabric that she had cut in the house and hired the most skilled garment mender in High City. They worked in shifts, and without sleep, they mended all the clothes that she had made for him and for herself. Those suits, shirts, ties, and evening gowns were hung back in the closet one by one. He was still wearing the tie that she had given him, which was also mended. Her evening gowns were long and short, and they were hung in the closet in a variety of colors. However, he didn't know where their owner was. Zhuang Yichen just lay on the bed with his eyes closed. Ever since he entered the room, he hadn't said a word. He pinched the shoes and hugged them to his chest. His chest began to tremble and tremble. He bit his lip and curled up his body in pain. He turned to the side and hugged the shoes even tighter. He was afraid that he would crush the shoes out of shape, so he kept his eyes closed and reached out to touch the shoes. Little demon. He called out softly. Where are you? It seems like this time, you will only be satisfied after tormenting me to death. If you didn't come back, I would have forgotten what you looked like, little demon Xiao. You bastard. King wish I could forget what you looked like. Zhuang Yichen curled up into a ball and began to convulse. He felt that he had never been in such pain before. He could bear with the hatred for his mother's death. He could conserve his energy. He could lay low for many years and then defeat the enemy with one move. He could attack with schemes and join hands with Jiang Zhao to get rid of the executioners of the Zhuang family. But for Xiaoya, he was in so much pain day after day. He couldn't bear it and couldn't lay low. He ran around aimlessly. He couldn't catch her and didn't know where she had gone. He was afraid. He was afraid that he would never see her again. Every day, when his subordinates came to report that there was no news, he swore that this was the last day, the last time. This would definitely be the last time he sent people out to look for her. He had had enough. The next day, he wouldn't look for her anymore. Whether she lived or died outside was none of Zhuang Yichen's business. But the next day, when he woke up, he forgot about the oath he swore the day before and sent people out to look for her in a fit of rage. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. She was really ruthless. She didn't call home, Xia Qian, or Yi Er. He even monitored their QQ and email addresses, but there was not a single message from her. Just now. Just now. When he threw away those receipts, he swore that it would be the last time. It would be the last time today. He had almost forgotten about her. It had been so long. If he couldn't find what he shouldn't forget, what was the point of keeping those memories? But when he touched the blanket and the shoes he bought for her, he wavered. He moved himself again and said, "Tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last time I'll look for her. If I can't find her tomorrow night, I won't look for her again." He pieced the shredded things back together. He didn't dare to wash them or wear them, but he couldn't sleep if he didn't wear them. In the past few years, he hadn't bought a single piece of clothing himself. All of them had been personally sewn by her. Broken. They were all broken. They were all ruined. He didn't have Jiang Zhao's family. Even though Jiang Zhao's parents were divorced, they still cared for him. He didn't have Qin Fian's family background. The Qin family was the #1 family in Haicheng. What he had was the remnants of the family business left to him by the Zhuang family's grandfather. With just that little bit, he had worked hard year after year to accumulate what he had today. He was one of the wealthiest people in Haicheng. But he had worked hard for all these years. He didn't have the help of his father or the support of his brothers. Now that he was successful and had killed his enemy, he had no one to share it with. He used to have nightmares. In the middle of the night, he would put on his clothes and drive to Qingfeng Garden where he could have a good night's sleep. She never lied to him. He would give her whatever she wanted. Because she never hid anything. Other than Kang Yun, it was also because he didn't ask. If she wanted a name, he would give it to her. If she wanted a house, he would give it to her. If she wanted a car, he would give her money to buy it. If she wanted to break up, he would agree. After they broke up, he couldn't find another woman to sleep with, so he continued to pester her. If she wanted to get married, he would agree to it when he was in such a difficult situation. Even though he told her to wait a little longer, she insisted on a marriage. Fine, he would give it to her. He saw how envious she was of Yi Er's wedding. He thought that he couldn't treat his woman badly. Then, the only thing he could do to make it up to her was to give her the romance that he didn't give her in the past. Yu Shui started to pass the message. But, in order to hide her well, he didn't eat out with her. There were only a few times when he dared to ask her out for a meal after nearly half a month of preparation. In order to hide her well, every time he attended her product launch, he would bring a female companion and sit in her VIP seat. He would watch her receive flowers and applause. Seeing the joy of success on her face, he couldn't help but want to get close to her. He could only secretly hide backstage. The woman he had hidden for 4 years was exposed to the public because of her early marriage. He knew that she must have been scared out of her wits at that time. It was all his fault. The woman he had hidden for 4 years left him because he had no choice but to hurt her, little demon. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. He gritted his teeth so hard that they made a gurgling sound. In his ears, he heard the song that his mother sang to him when he was young. He started to cry. It was so suppressed that his whole body twitched and trembled. He wanted to hold on to something, but he couldn't. Mom, you really don't have anything left to lose. Nothing, you don't have anything left, ******. There was nothing more heart-wrenching than suppressing pain. Zhuang Yichen's pain was something he had never experienced before. He thought that everything was under his control. He thought that nothing would run out of his plan, just like what happened to Zhuang Yifeng. Beauty novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 778. He had it all planned out. Although the plan had been brought forward because of his marriage, it was still carried out step by step. Before the servants in this villa were changed, there were spies everywhere, and there were bugs everywhere. He could not touch those spies and remove the bugs. He could only treat Xian Man well and let Zhuang Yifeng know that Xian Man had completely betrayed him. He could only treat Xian Man well and let Zhuang Yifeng transfer all his hatred to Xian Man. At first, he couldn't bear it. After all, Xian Man had never harmed him. But what could he do? Xiaoya had been kidnapped once. She would be kidnapped again. He couldn't follow Xiaoya 365 days a year, 20 hours a day, 60 minutes an hour, 60 seconds a minute. One mistake and his life would be in danger. Between Xiaoya and Xian Man, even if Xian Man had never wronged him, he could only choose to give her up and let Zhuang Yifeng target her. He was indeed cold-blooded and ruthless. But when he saw Xiaoya trying to choke Xian Man to death with a pillow, the blood in his body boiled. He couldn't wait to kill Zhuang Yifeng immediately to end her pain. He had to bear with it. If he couldn't bear it, Zhuang Yifeng would have to be on guard. Once he was on guard, the time to kill him would be delayed indefinitely. But by the time he had settled everything, she had left. He had left without a trace. The cash check expired. She didn't withdraw a single cent and the bank returned it. He had checked her bank card. Her parents-in-law were using it. Her luggage was still in Qingfeng Garden. He tried to open the password lock on the luggage and entered her birthday. No. He entered her birthday. When he saw the password lock open with a click, he knew he was done for. His heart was in so much pain that he couldn't breathe. He didn't know how many more things belonged to her. Just the password lock for her birthday was enough to make him wish he was dead. He opened the luggage. It was filled with her daily clothes. She only brought 3 pairs of her favorite shoes. But she didn't take these things with her. The bed sheets were clean and placed in the cupboard. When he took it out, it still smelled of the sun. It was as if she had washed it yesterday. He opened the drawer in her closet. There were some gift boxes inside. It was a small box with exquisite packaging. He opened it. There was a tie and a handkerchief. The box was not broken, but the things inside had been cut up. It was just that they had not been thrown away. He put the pieces together. The violet handkerchief had a pink edge and was very beautiful. It could be folded into a beautiful flower and inserted into the breast pocket of his suit. At the corner of the handkerchief, there was a word embroidered, Chen. The word Chen was also embroidered on the inner hem of the tie. He knew he had broken her heart. She was deeply hurt. She was so hurt that she didn't want to take anything with her, not even a change of clothes. At that moment he fell on the carpet beside the bed with a dull thud. He thought about how many times he had spent the night in Qingfeng Garden. The next day, he would kick her out of bed and hear her fall to the carpet beside the bed with a thud. He would see her crawl up and call out his name through gritted teeth, Zhuang Yichen. At that time, he was very happy. He hated it when she called him boss in bed and called him boss off the bed. He was a very calculative person. He would not accede to every request of someone who called him boss. It turned out that she had always been different when she was with him. That was why he had been hiding her. He was afraid that she would be poisoned by Zhuang Yifeng. When she went on a blind date and found out that it was Kang Yun, he was furious. He could believe that she was just putting on an act, but he did not believe Kang Yun. He hated her past. There was only Kang Yun in that part of her past, not him. Zhuang Yifeng had been eyeing him covetously. At that time, he did not care about anything. He went to the proposal venue that had been booked and dragged her back. Now that Zhuang Yifeng was gone, he did not have to hide anymore. He could openly take her out to eat, watch TV, and play overseas. Every day when he thought about this, he was in so much pain that he could not sleep. It was as if someone was gouging out his heart and cutting his flesh. The woman that he had spent so much effort to protect was like a seed planted in his body. Without her, there was a huge hole in his heart. Every day, someone was still digging it out. It was so painful that he could not even cry out. Young master. Li Yong did not knock on the door. He pushed the door open and entered the bedroom. Now that Xiaoye was not around, there was no need to hide too much. It was also to let Zhuang Yichen talk less. However, the moment he entered, he saw Zhuang Yichen curled up on the bed and crying softly. Li Yong's heart ached. He regretted coming in at this time. Zhuang Yichen usually hid it very well. He did not show much. At most, he would get angry. Now, he was curled up on the bed like a trapped beast. Why did he come in? Did he want to deprive a person who had nowhere to vent his pent-up emotions to hide in the room and cry? But he had already shouted. Just as he was about to leave, Zhuang Yichen shouted hoarsely, "Uncle Li." Li Yong responded with a trembling voice. Zhuang Yichen was still curled up. He hugged his shoes, clutched his chest, and sniffled. His voice was hoarse, as if he was enduring great pain. He said with trembling teeth, "Uncle Li, I feel terrible. My heart hurts so much. It's useless to massage it." Li Yong stood by the bed, tears streaming down his face. Young master, the photo studio has already redone the photos. I'm here to tell you. Should we still hang them in the same position? When they had taken the photos, Zhuang Yichen had tyrannically demanded that the photo studio delete all the negatives. When the photos were destroyed, Xiaoye's face could not be seen. He had asked Li Yong to call the photo studio to ask for the negatives, but they said that they had already deleted them. He almost tore down the photo studio. Fortunately, when the wedding photos were taken, Xiaoyu showed off and gave Yi Er and Xia Qian a copy each. Then, he copied Yi Er's copy and sent it to the photo studio to have it redone. Zhuang Yichen's memory was shockingly good. He knew which photos were made of crystal, which ones were made of wood, 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 and which ones were placed in the album. Okay, hang it up. Otherwise, I'll forget what she looks like. It was another weekend. Su Jian returned to Qing County from the provincial capital to visit his grandmother. Sister Jean said that she wanted to treat him to a meal, so he called Xiaoyu over. After the meal, Su Jian wanted to send Sister Jean and Xiaoyu home. However, Sister Jean said that she wanted to go for a walk and exercise after the meal. When they were walking, Xiaoyu was always indifferent. She did not say or express anything. Su Jian was also a man of few words. In Xiaoyu's impression, Su Jian was not such a person. When she saw him at Grandmother Su's house the other day, he was very humorous. The people in the county had a rich entertainment life. There were people dancing in public squares, fitness centers, and couples. Those songs were all street songs, the catchy kind. Sister Jean stood at the side of the square and twisted to the music. She touched her waist and said, "Xiaoyu, people say that I'm too fat and need to lose weight. I think I really need to lose weight. Sigh. I'll go and do some twists." Huh, wait for me. Xiaoyu actually admired Sister Jin's sense of humor. She never thought that there was anything wrong with being fat. She always said, "I'm fat, but my skin is good. Those skinny people my age don't have skin as plump as mine." Xiaoyu was about to stand at the side and wait for Sister Jean when Su Jian reached out his hand to her. "Xiaoyu, please dance." "Huh? Aren't you going to do me the honor?" The man asked her to dance in a gentlemanly manner. He placed one hand behind his back and bowed slightly. It was the perfect posture for a dance. "I'm afraid that I'll step on your feet." "It's okay. I've been stepped on by you a few times so that I won't be stepped on by you next time. But I'm not wearing high heels. I'm so much taller than you." Xiaoyu felt that height was a big problem. If she were as tall as Yi Er, she would not have to wear high heels in front of Zhuang Yichen. Sigh. She thought that it was wrong of her to link everything to Zhuang Yichen again. Maybe it'll have a different effect. The music in the square stopped, and then it started again. The slow four-step dance was melodious. Soon, the people around them stopped dancing. They looked at the man and woman dancing in the middle of the square. Xiaoyu straightened his back and leaned back slightly, tiptoeing along with the dance. The woman looked quiet and beautiful. However, when she raised her head and puffed out her chest, she suddenly felt cold and elegant. The man was leisurely and handsome. He was as noble as a prince from a fairy tale. He was holding his partner in a gentlemanly manner. The dance steps were perfectly coordinated. Because the male and female leads were a perfect match, even a fancy spin would attract waves of applause. Xiaoyu, actually, the best way to forget a relationship is to jump into another one. Have you heard of this saying before? Su Jian was merely holding Xiaoyu's arm. It was only physical contact, unlike other people who wanted to pull the woman into their arms just for the sake of a pas de deux. His gaze was still looking in front. However, it was faint. Through the music, it reached Xiaoyu's ears. Xiaoyu was shocked. You don't have to hide or forget when you're healing a relationship. When you experience another relationship, you might slowly forget about it. People have to experience a lot of relationships in a lifetime. Some will be broken. When it's broken, there will be hurt. However, life goes on, doesn't it? Su Jian led Xiaoyu around as he spoke in a gentle tone. Actually, you can settle for the next best thing. This time, Xiaoyu really stepped on Su Jian's foot. However, she swore that she did not do it on purpose. Su Jian did not mind. He stopped and held Xiaoyu's shoulder. Xiaoyu, be my girlfriend. I think you don't have to wait until you've forgotten someone before you can accept someone else. You. How did you know? Xiao Yu put down her tiptoes and looked at Su Jian uneasily. She had forgotten that his hands were still holding her shoulders. However, this gentleman only had a gentle smile. Even though it was night time and the lights in the square were not bright, his smile was so gentle. It was as gentle as the early spring sunshine. It was warm and did not hurt. Since the day I sent you home and asked you why you didn't want to earn money, I guessed that you were hurt. Awesome novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 779. At your age, the things you make are exquisite and beautiful. You can definitely make a career in a big city. Moreover. Su Jian smiled faintly, but there was a sharp light in his gentle eyes, as if he could see through everything. Moreover, I've already said that I'll introduce you to some business, but you're not willing to accept it. You can make more money easily, but you refuse. This means that you're afraid of being idle. You have exquisite handwork skills and understand design concepts. You're so good in appearance, but you're single. Your eyes are dim and there's a strong sense of melancholy. If you're not injured, then you've encountered a major setback. Seeing that Xiao Yu was in a daze, Su Jian took her hand again and held her waist. He started dancing again. There were no more fancy moves, just simple steps. Xiao Yu, I've been thinking about these problems in the past few days back in the provincial capital. Sister Jean said that you're a loner, but I always feel that there's a fire in your heart that will definitely burn very passionately. Xiao Yu, let's date. Young Master Su, you know nothing about me except for my name. I'm the same about you. Just take it as a joke. Xiao Yu used to entertain guests often, so naturally, she would not blush, run away, or hide like a teenager. She moved along with Su Jian's steps, just waiting for the song to stop. I, Su Jian, 25 years old. My ancestral home is Qing County. I live in Sea City. My grandmother, maternal grandparents, and parents are all alive. After my grandfather passed away, my grandmother insisted on coming back to take care of the house in Qing County. Our family runs a jewelry business. We have a jade processing factory in Yunnan and our own diamond factory in South Africa. Currently, our Su Ji jewelry store is in all the major shopping malls in the country. I've been in 3 relationships, but they ended without any illness. At this time, Xiao Yu pushed Su Jian away in a panic. She had thought about starting a new life. She really had thought about finding a substitute. She had even thought about it. As long as she could forget about Zhuang Yichen, she did not care whether she hurt anyone or not. The feeling of being alone was not good. However, she did not want to find a rich man. Even if Sister Jean called him, Young Master Su, she did not expect him to have such a family background. It turned out that Su Ji jewelry store belonged to Su Jian's family. When they got married, the naked diamond was bought from Su Ji jewelry store. It was a high-quality South African diamond. Xiao Yu. Su Jian caught up with Xiao Yu, who had been silent all this while. Holding her hand, he said, Xiao Yu, what if I told you that during the few days I was back in Sea City, all I could think about was the way you ate without saying a word, the way you lowered your head and made curtains, and the way you held onto your seatbelt and looked straight ahead? Do you find it unbelievable? Xiao Yu shook his head and tried to shake off Su Jian's hand. I just want to live a normal life. Young Master Su, don't disturb me. Su Jian did not let go. I won't disturb your peace. If you like to stay in Qing County, then stay in Qing County. I'll come back every week unless I'm on a business trip. Why reject me so quickly? I'm not interested in rich people. Even if your former lover is very rich, do you have to treat all rich people as enemies? Young Master Su. I have a name. Su Jian was very particular about the way he addressed her. This was the first time he had used a heavy tone. I'm going back. As Su Jian watched Xiao Yu run out of the plaza, he hailed a taxi and let out a sigh. Jean walked over and patted Su Jian on the back. Did you hit a snag? Yes. Do you like her? Yes. It was a simple and straightforward conversation, but the content was already clear. Jean seemed to be very close to Su Jian. She held his arm. Do you really like her? Yes, I've missed her for a week. Xiao Yu looks like she's been hurt. She usually locks herself at home to make curtains. If young master's temper flares up, then forget it. At that time, I asked her to make curtains at your grandmother's house purely because I wanted to introduce her to some business. I really didn't want to be a matchmaker. Jean. The two of them walked to the place where they had eaten earlier to pick up the car. If you really don't want to play, then forget it. My grandmother likes her very much. Didn't you notice? She even mentioned her when she called me. Yes, when did Grandma Sue invite anyone to eat at her place? Jean, I want to fight for her. The car lock was pressed, and the two of them sat in the car. Jean was not used to wearing the seatbelt. Su Jian asked her twice before she finally put it on. It was rare for Jean to be so serious when she spoke. Jian, I've already said that Xiao Yu has been through a lot. You're in C City, and she's in Qin County. I'm afraid it'll be difficult for you to develop a relationship. She locks herself up every day. If you don't care about her, how can you enter her life? At noon the next day, Xiaoya sat in front of the sewing machine again and buried her head in making curtains. When the doorbell rang, she shouted, "Who is it?" Wait a minute. It's me, Xiaoyu. It was Jin's voice. Xiaoyu quickly stopped the sewing machine and got up to open the door for Jean. When she opened the door, Jean smiled. You're making curtains again? Come in, Jean. At this moment, footsteps came from the stairs. Jean had only one foot in the house when Su Jian arrived at the door. He smiled as if nothing had happened last night. He was not embarrassed at all. Jean, I was just about to look for you. I'm looking for Xiaoyu. If you're looking for me, sit at Xiaoyu's house for a while. Okay. Xiaoyu was speechless. Did these two people think that she did not exist? As soon as Su Jian entered the house, he followed Sister Jean to change his shoes. When he smelled the scent of instant noodles in the house, he frowned. He followed the scent and found where the instant noodles were. He picked up the noodles and poured the lunch into the toilet for Xiaoyu. Su. Zhe. Yen. Xiaoyu wanted to kill this guy with a knife. How dare he do this in front of her? Su Jian chose to ignore it. Don't eat those things that hurt your stomach and are not nutritious. Do you have food at home? You can make your curtains. I'll get something for you to eat. Sister Jean slapped her thigh and stood up. What kind of food does she have? She eats instant noodles every day. Wait here. I'll go upstairs and get it for you. I have a lot of food in the fridge. As Xiaoyu stepped on the sewing machine, she smelled the fragrance coming from the kitchen. The smell of cooking at home was indeed different. This process was enough to attract the glutton in her stomach. She could not help but swallow her saliva. It had been a long time since she had such an appetite. She was very curious. What would a man like Su Jian's cooking taste like? Xiaoyu stood at the kitchen door and listened to the sound of the kitchen hood. She watched as the man wore the apron that Jean had brought down. He rolled up his sleeves and skillfully stir-fried the food. The aroma of the food wafted into her nose. When it was time to eat, she took big bites of the food. There were 2 meat dishes, 1 vegetable dish, and 1 soup. It was delicious. Su Jian also filled his bowl with rice. He could not help but laugh when he thought of the way she chewed slowly the other day. Wow, how can you eat so much? I haven't eaten either. Leave some for me. I can't finish it. Do you think I'm transformed from a pig? The food would only taste better if one fought to eat it. When Su Jian saw how relaxed Xiaoyu was while eating, he also tried his best to eat with her. For dinner, Jean consciously took a lot of food from upstairs. She said that she wanted to freeload. Naturally, Su Jian was the one who cooked. Xiaoyu stepped on the sewing machine while Jean sat beside her and looked in the direction of the kitchen. Xiaoyu, Jian is a good person. Look, there's a rich man who knows how to cook. He's also very polite. Even a nouveau riche like me sincerely thinks that he's a good person. Don't be so picky. Try dating him. It's not like you're losing anything. He really likes you. Jean, I don't need any sincerity. Okay. You just need someone to accompany you. Just don't be so bored. Xiaoyu did not answer. She was too bored. The more bored she was, the more she was surrounded by Zhuang Yichen. She needed to change the situation. Then, why don't you let Zhe Yan accompany you for a while and get to know you better? Jean asked. Jean, I'm divorced. Xiaoyu was still stepping on the sewing machine and did not stop. After being stunned for a while, Jean changed the topic. Xiaoyu knew that anyone would be calculative about this condition. It was good that she was calculative. She felt relieved. At night, Xiaoyu had already packed up and went to bed. Someone rang the doorbell again. Jean was the only person who would ring her doorbell so late at night. When she walked to the door, she looked out through the peephole. It was Su Jian. Xiaoyu wanted to pretend that she did not hear anything. She turned off the lights and was about to go back to sleep. However, the person outside the door had already spoken. Xiaoyu, I know you're here. The lights were on just now. Now that the lights are gone, Jean told me. Xiaoyu, I miss you. I don't mind. You're already divorced. You're alone now. Xiaoyu, aren't you tired of tying yourself up? Where are you going to find a man like me who's willing to be your substitute? I just think that since I like you to the extent that I can see you even when I close my eyes, and you're not in a relationship right now, why don't we try dating? As soon as he said this, the door was pulled open. Xiaoyu looked at Su Jian and asked directly, can we not get on the bed? Su Jian heaved a sigh of relief. The corners of his lips curled up, and his eyes began to shine brightly under the light. Of course. Do you agree? Okay. Haicheng, 9th Mansion. Zhuang Yichen sat beside the tea table in Jiang Zhao's study. The aroma of tea filled the air. He said, if I were to use the media to find someone, would it be a good idea? Yichen, if we use the media to find her, Xian Man's and Zhuang Yifeng's matters will be dug up. Maybe even more. It's too risky. Jiang Zhao sighed, his eyes deep and serious. Yichen, if we use the media to find her, Xian Man and Zhuang Yifeng's matters will be dug up. Zhuang Yichen knew that this was a dirty secret that could not be exposed. If he were to openly look for Xiaoya, the reason for the divorce would be exposed. For example, the hostage incident that night would expose the gun incident. At the same time, his secret forces might also be exposed. Come and see. Hongcha 866. Chapter 780. Everything that happened in the past would be used for hype, especially by people like him. People who like to gossip would never lose interest. The love histories of the rich and handsome would always be talked about enthusiastically, but the conspiracy behind those love histories could not be exposed. Zhuang Yifeng was dead, and there was no evidence. If he was exposed, he would be digging his own grave. Yichen, have you ever thought that with Xiaoya's personality, she might have already? Jiang Zhao filled the washed tea set with tea, picked up the cup, and handed it to Zhuang Yichen. His words stopped there, and he held the cup in front of Zhuang Yichen, but his gaze was unreadable. Zhuang Yichen's heart skipped a beat. He took the tea from Jiang Zhao and quickly closed his eyes. His hands began to tremble slightly. The high-quality Tiguanyin tea was steeped in the boiling spring water, and its aroma filled the air. Even the light yellow tea splashed in all directions, scattering the aroma. Jiang Zhao frowned as he watched Zhuang Yichen pour the boiling hot tea into his mouth and swallow it. Zhuang Yichen took a deep breath. His heart skipped a beat just now, and it suddenly froze. A chill ran through his body. Fortunately, there was a cup of boiling hot tea. It was not that he had not thought about what Jiang Zhao said. He had thought about it before, and that was why he wanted Jiang Zhao to help him come up with ideas. In the past, he thought that man could conquer nature, but now, he felt powerless. He wanted to surrender and admit defeat. He could not stand the futility, hopelessness, and disappointment every day. He knew that if this happened again, he would be in despair. He restored everything. The photos, quilt, shoes, clothes, tie, handkerchief, and the furnishings in the room. Even the skincare products she used, he put them all back in their original position. Just like that. Day after day. He could not hold on for much longer. He was afraid. He was afraid that if this continued, he would either die or go crazy. He had never been tortured like this before. Back then, when Zhuang Yifeng snatched Exian Man away, he did not want to get her back so desperately. He did not even think about it. He did not even take the initiative to look for her. It was Exian Man who felt sorry for him and took the initiative to look for him. He thought that it was probably because he felt that he did not owe Exian Man, so he did not feel anything. But on the other hand, what did he owe Xiaoya? He didn't give her less than Exian Man, but he gave her so much more than Exian Man. What else did he owe her? In the end, he realized that he had abandoned himself and his heart with her. It was because she had never asked for anything that he was at ease with her. He was at ease with her if she did not go and provoke other men. He was at ease with her if she never disturbed him. His heart was placed entirely on her. Once she left, she took them all with her. He wanted to take him away, but he didn't want to take him away. He wanted to leave a body like this. It was clearly a body, but it still hurt. Every day, he had to endure the pain. In his dreams, he had to endure her shadow coming back to dig out his flesh and drink his blood. He started to be jealous of Kang Ian. How much pain did Lilia have in the past for her to want to die? Was it like him now? What he hoped for now was that she did not love him as deeply as she loved Kang Ian. She did not want to die because of sadness. If that was the case, he could continue to look for her. How could he not know that with Xiaoya's personality, she might already have a man. He did not say it, but it did not mean that he did not think about it. After all, he knew that she found him because she was abandoned by Kang Ian. Her goal was so clear. She was using him to forget Kang Ian. He knew that she would do it. She was actually a decisive person. She wanted to commit suicide for Kang Ian. She wanted to be his lover. She wanted to force him to marry her. Every time, she would force herself to the road of death. She forced herself to find a way to live. He knew that she loved him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have wanted to marry him. She wouldn't have wanted to suffocate Exian Man. She wouldn't have even locked the lockbox with his birthday. She wouldn't have cut everything and left nothing behind. She loved him too much. That was why she left so decisively. She did not want to take any memories with her. She was looking for a way to live. She left to find a way to live. He knew it all, but the road in front of him was a dead end. Zhuang Yichen's heart started to hurt again. It hurt so much that his face turned pale. He and Jiang Zhao did not need to say much. The other party could understand. Yichen, how about this? 3 days. I'll use 3 days to get the people from the Industry and Commerce Bureau to find all the registration information of all the clothing companies and factories in the country for you. Xiaoya has a skill. When she left, she did not take her passport with her. Could she have left the country? We'll look for her in the country. We'll start with the clothing line. If it doesn't work, we'll do a big search. If it doesn't work, I'll ask Zhuahao for help. Some of the things in the army are very advanced. Are you afraid that we won't be able to find thousands of xiaoyaqius? Zhuang Yichen's throat was choked up. He could only nod and take a deep breath. Brother Zhao, thank you. Jiang Zhao had never seen Zhuang Yichen reveal his own predicament and weakness in front of him. He was touched. It's just that I happen to have such resources. It's convenient for you. I also know that you're anxious. Spring came and went. Cold came and went. Time always changed people's situation. The summer in the southern cities was always long. The cold came later. This autumn, the flowers were still blooming. It had been 2.5 years since they left Haicheng. Xiaoyu brought his 1.5-year-old daughter to chase butterflies in the garden in front of the villa. The little girl's hair was very shiny. It was thick and black. It almost reached her shoulders, but it was not tied up. Her face was pink and delicate. The little girl stretched out her little hand and reached out when she saw the butterflies in the garden. She did not run very fast and fell from time to time. However, her gaze was still on the butterflies in the garden that were chasing around the flowers. Mommy, Xiaoyu's long hair was draped over her shoulders. She squatted by the flowers and pointed her index finger at the little girl. Her eyes were wide open. Shoo. Baby, shoo. The little girl's eyes were bright. She imitated her mother and pointed her index finger at her mouth. Her eyes were wide open. Shoo, shoo. Baby, shoo. Xiaoyu had a blissful smile on her face. Seeing that another butterfly had landed on the flower in front of her, she carefully held out her palm in an attempt to catch the butterfly. The little girl imitated her mother and stood by the flower shrub, holding out her palm. However, her actions were careless. The little girl laughed and screamed excitedly. Ah! Shoo, shoo, baby, he kept saying. The child was imitating her mother. She picked a sentence and said it many times. It was better if she was noisy. She saw that her mother was serious and wanted to destroy the butterflies. She ran over, scared them away, and continued to chase after them. Yo-yo! Xiaoyu laughed and shouted. Yo-yo ran dangerously and laughed along the way. The reason why it was said that Yo-yo was running dangerously was because she looked like she was running unsteadily and could fall at any moment. However, she continued to run without any fear. Xiaoyu saw that Yo-yo was wearing a pink and blue princess dress. She had made a pink and blue spaghetti strap dress herself. Her daughter was mischievous and her mother was as gentle as the wind. Mommy, Yo-yo pointed at the butterflies on the flowers. Mommy, butterfly. I'm not going to catch them for you. They're bad. Xiaoyu wiped the sweat off his forehead. Yo-yo suddenly ran toward Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu was happy and reached out to carry her. However, Yo-yo ran past her and ran into the arms of another person. Daddy, butterfly. The man was handsome. When he smiled, the sunlight shining on the garden was gentle and warm. Baby. He planted a kiss on Yo-yo's cheek. The sweetness of his doting made the little princess in his arms tremble with joy. The man asked, Daddy will catch butterflies for baby, okay? Okay. How will baby thank Daddy? Kiss, the little princess said in a childish voice. She then smeared her saliva all over the man's face. Ah, it smells so good. The man tilted his head and snuggled into the little princess's neck, laughing loudly. Smells so good. Baby's kiss smells so good. Daddy will catch so many good butterflies for baby. Xiaoyu smiled and walked over. Jian, don't spoil her. It's tiring to work. Let me carry Yo-yo, Xiaoyu said gently. No, I haven't carried baby for a day. I don't feel tired at all when I carry baby. Although Su Jian was talking to Xiaoyu, he was actually talking to Yo-yo. When he saw Yo-yo smiling, he raised his chin and said, Isn't that right? My little Yo-Yo, isn't that right? I miss Daddy. Yo-Yo misses Daddy. Daddy, hurry up and catch butterflies for baby. Baby misses Daddy as a reward, okay? Su Jian handed Yo-Yo to Xiaoyu. When Xiaoyu took Yo-Yo, Su Jian planted a kiss on Xiaoyu's forehead. How about you? Did you miss me? Xiaoyu chuckled. Yes. Okay. Su Jian rolled up his sleeves. I'm going to catch butterflies for my wife and sweetheart. Xiaoyu watched as Su Jian entered the villa and took a large decorative glass bottle. He then filled it with fresh flowers and placed it on the grass. Then, he went to catch butterflies seriously. Initially, there were not many butterflies in the garden in front of the villa. However, one day, Yo-Yo saw butterflies flying around on the television. She clapped her hands excitedly and screamed for butterflies. The next day, he asked his men to replace the flowers in the garden with flowers that attracted butterflies. Then, he asked his men to bring a few thousand butterflies home. That day, when he released the butterflies from the box, Yo-Yo ran around the garden excitedly. Some of the butterflies ran away. However, as the flowers in the garden were very fragrant, most of the butterflies stayed behind. She knew what he was thinking. He wanted to give her everything she wanted. A flash marriage. What a thrilling marriage. They had known each other for a week. After she agreed to be his girlfriend, he took out his household register and secretly brought her to get a marriage certificate 3 days later. What was done could not be undone. He said that in this lifetime, he would do something impulsive that followed his heart at least once. And that was to get married for a woman that he missed all the time. He knew that it was a risk, but he wanted to take this risk for once in his life. He said that he did not mind being that person's substitute. After all, life was long. One day, he would be able to make her happy. Every day, he racked his brains to make her happy. He was so good to her. His family was in a mess because of her divorce, but he still persisted. He said that he was taking a risk and was impulsive. However, he was a man. He had to be responsible for his impulsiveness and risk. He persisted not only for the sake of responsibility but also for hope. Only by persisting would they have hope. She thought that God pitied her. He pitied her for being hurt so deeply by 2 men. Therefore, he sent her such a man to make up for the hurt she had suffered in the past. Then, she would be in his arms and slowly forget the pain that was carved into her bones. Come and see. Shinwoo 799. You're tuning into the A Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.